Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
This one's special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
100% ready to go. It's been a long time coming, and I just can't wait to be out there.
That's why we play football in the SEC, trying to go get it done.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
You know, it'll be sometimes I enjoy getting angry about stuff that doesn't matter. Like, angry is not the right word, but I enjoy to, like, really? That's how you see it? Let me tell you how you should see it kind of thing, right?
Okay.
So I read a headline, and it put me not in a bad mood because this guy was writing nice stuff. It wasn't anything mean, okay? But, like, there's a lot wrong. I'm just going to read you the headline.
All right.
All right? And this guy was actually being nice. He wasn't being mean. So, guys, do not think that I'm being mean. But I just sometimes have, like, no, we don't look at it like that.
Okay.
Okay? Saturday down south, a gentleman by the name of Wasson, not familiar with him, and this is his last name. The headline, and he didn't write the headline,
Yeah.
I assume. Don't fret, Aggie Nation. Winning ugly will eventually pay off. Okay? And then, but I don't like Aggie Nation.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't like that. And then he goes, you can almost hear the hue and the cry from College Station. What about Texas A&M? Where's the respect for the Aggies? I think every fan base in America, in the world, your favorite sport, soccer, doesn't matter. Rollerblading, I know you love doing that on the weekends with Irma. Every fan base has fans that are like, dude, we don't get our due. And there's others that are like, I just want to stay under the radar. Mm-hmm. I feel because of what we went through the last few years, where there was a big microscope on the Jimbo Fisher era, right? That I think Aggies may not love that they're ranked 14th in the AP poll. They may want to be higher, but I think there's a little under the radar thing that we're enjoying in this incarnation of Aggie football.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, I agree. And I even look on our boards, and every now and then you'll see somebody that'll start a thread and it'll say something like, we're disrespected, whatever. And the response isn't, I think, whoever is the original poster is expecting, because I see a lot of the responses, hey, it doesn't matter. Just keep winning.
Yeah.
And if A&M wins Saturday, on Sunday you'll be in the top 10. I'll make that prediction.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, again, this guy wasn't writing anything mean. Everything he said, I kind of agree with. If you just put your head down, keep working, you'll be there, right? Like, take care of your own business, you'll be there. But I don't think there's there is always going to be complaints on every message board in America, every social media platform. There's always going to be complaints. Why aren't people talking about us? But I think at the end of the day, this incarnation of Aggie football, which is a throwback to what an R.C. Slocum team would feel like. We're going to play smash mouth defense. We're going to run the ball effectively in this modern era of college football. Mm-hmm. It's a workman's-like approach, as opposed to kind of like what Kirby Smart. I don't know if you saw the interview after the Texas game. He's like, we're not going to be dancing. We're about the work. I forget the exact phrasing he used, but that's kind of how I look at this era of Aggie football.
And I hope so. And I think that's what I kind of agree with you. I get that feeling from Elko going all the way back when he first said, hey, we're just going to keep our head down and go to work.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they've done. And I like that. I like I want to crow as much as anybody, but I want to crow at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And A&M, in past years, you'd get off to a good start. Remember, we always had the November fade under Sumlin, but it would look like you're going to have a great year, and we get on our boards and people are already making plans for this bowl game or that SEC championship game or whatever, and then it'd fall apart. So I'm with you on that. Just keep your head down, keep grinding. It's working. And I don't care at all about style points. All I care about is having the most points.
Yeah, and I also don't want people to read too much into the Mississippi State game. That was one of the things he went into the article. Like, if you really look through a microscope, they kind of had to grind it out through Mississippi State, kind of had to grind it out through Bowling Green and Arkansas. You know what, buddy? You can grind out 9 victories, 10 victories, 11 victories. I'll be happy. I don't care. They don't all need to look like Missouri.
Well, the fact of the matter is, everywhere you go in college football, you're going to find some places where whatever team struggles at certain places, for whatever reason. There was a time for A&M, it was Missouri or Colorado, right? I think Clemson used to struggle with Wake Forest. And then there are always, in a championship year, we've talked about this earlier this week, in a championship year, you can look at teams that win national championships and you can find 2 or 3 games where they just had to grind it out. And I go back to Georgia a couple years ago. Weren't they behind in the fourth quarter against Missouri? And just this year, didn't they almost get beat by Kentucky?
And they were struggling with Auburn for a little bit, I believe.
Yeah. So that's just how it is.
So, and I think you can't read one game into another. And you also need to look at things in parts. Like, oh, well, Arkansas isn't what we thought. Look what LSU did. Yeah, but hold on. Jaquinton Jackson got hurt in that game fairly early, right? And Taylor Green
was not
playing
100%.
early.
Yeah.
So you have to look at the playbook. You have to, the storyline inside of that game before you make a big determination. Yes, over 12 games, you'll be able to figure out if this team was a good team or a bad team. I've watched Mississippi State now play 3 games this year, and they are better than their record as a team. Now, they're not winning games. And I'm sure if you're a Mississippi State fan, you see light at the end of the tunnel, but you still want to see some W's. But I think that is a dangerous team that people don't want to play. But, oh, by the way, that's called life in the SEC.
Yeah, it is. And like we said before last week, I've been to Starkville enough times with the better team and come back with a loss that I don't think I'm going to feel bad about winning by double figures, especially when you are on the brink.
Yep.
On the brink of blowing them out.
Let's talk good on good, bad on bad. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Good on good. A&M's defensive line, their offensive line, LSU's offensive line.
Yeah.
They have not given up a sack since the South Carolina game. That's about a month, right? Mm-hmm. Sounds about right. That's a long time. A&M, I forget what the numbers are, but I think over the last 5 games, they got like 12 sacks, something to that effect. Okay.
Right. And it's not just sacks. It's been times when they've affected the quarterback and things like that. And some of their sacks, like last week, against most quarterbacks, that would have been a sack, but a guy was as mobile as Van Buren.
But I feel like we've seen a lot of mobile quarterbacks this year.
That's
college
we should.
Today,
that's how it should be.
Yeah. So I think their offensive line is obviously very highly touted. Billy on the Luchador mentioned he'll take a dominant defensive line over a dominant offensive line. He pointed back to some of our great ones that struggled in the past. Look, if Nick Scorton can get through, he's going to get his. Same with Shamar Turner. Same with Shamar Stewart. Like that group overall, I have high hopes for what they can do. I'm not expecting 3, 4, 5 sacks against LSU. I'm not even expecting a number. I expect them to affect Nuss.
Yeah, I do too. I think Ole Miss did. Most of them, they scored 26. That was an overtime, and I think Ole Miss did, and I think A&M has every bit the pass rush that Ole Miss has. So.
All right, and I'm going to give you another one. Okay, this is maybe bad on bad, but I don't think it's bad on the A&M side. Okay, and I don't know if it's bad on the LSU side. LSU's 103rd nationally in pass defense. Means you can throw on them, right?
Yes,
pretty much. Conversely, A&M is only 107th in a passing attack. And what my response to that will be, well, yes, struggled against Notre Dame offensively. Marcel Reed played really well passing the ball against Florida, but other than that, he was kind of neutralized, right? It was more of a run attack there. So, and I think since Connor has been back, the passing numbers are back to being respectable.
They were great in one game and they were okay in another.
Right. So I don't think they're 103rd.
I think if you're 300 or at least in the neighborhood of 300, what do you have, a 287? Yeah, that's really good. I don't know if the way A&M plays, if you're going to see 300-yard passing games.
You don't need to.
Not if you're running.
And if you're the defensive line for LSU, which has played well, they've lost a couple dudes. You can run on them between the tackles.
Yeah, and I would think A&M is going to
run on them,
and then
which will open up Noah.
The passing game, and Noah and Jabri and Bussey's going to be back. I think there's going to be a lot of potential for success with the A&M offense this week.
As I always do, talk myself into fear and into like, oh yeah, we got them. And if A&M is able to play their brand of football, I think they can win this game. Not can they? I think they will win this game.
Well, has Luch heard any update on? Because I know you talked to him like during the afternoon and things like that. Has he heard any update on Chase Basantes?
I have not heard an update on him. Yeah,
that's something. Yeah, got to keep
an eye on.
There will be a.
Hey, but you know what?
There will be a.
Cam did a nice job.
Yeah, but you still want to be at full 100%,
strength.
Yeah, there will be a SEC coaches media.
That's today, right?
Conference call today.
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll be if not the first, one of the first
top 3 questions
that Elko will get.
OB, I didn't warn you, but typically here we do we do it at 8:20, but we're going to have a couple of guests on the show. We do our games that you want to watch this weekend. If Kate puts up the graphic, can we talk about it?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
And he's loading it up for us because obviously the game we all want to watch.
There's 5 games matching, I think, ranked opponents.
5 games with ranked?
I think. Because, you got like Illinois and Oregon and, of course, A&M and LSU. Notre Dame and Navy.
He does have one up there. I didn't see it. Illinois versus Oregon. There you go.
Number 1 versus number 20. Illinois for all time is like 3-20 versus the number 1 team in the country because you're usually not very good. However, the last time Illinois played the number 1 ranked team and it was on the road, they beat Ohio State. In 2007, I was there for that game. Juice Williams with a big first down on a 4th and 1.
Yeah.
So maybe they can keep that going because this is a pretty good Illinois.
Yeah.
This is a good team.
Next game on the list is Missouri, Alabama.
Number 21 versus number 15.
What do we want, OB, for A&M? Because a victory, if Missouri beats Alabama, that victory looks better. But then there's still a 1-loss Missouri team.
Yeah, but you basically have a 2-game lead on Missouri. Because if you lost and we're in a tiebreak, you'd win the tiebreak. I have to admit,
But A&M would have 2 losses. Well, if they lost another game, they would have 2 losses in the SEC.
If I have to admit that if I was going to be rooting for anybody in this game, it'd be for Missouri.
You like to see the demise of the Tide.
Yeah, I like to see Alabama lose, and quite frankly, Alabama has had some serious issues in pass defense.
We should call if they lose again. We should reach out to your good friend who does the show there that you don't think is very intelligent, and just maybe prank call that show for a little bit.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah.
All right, what's the next game on the list? And we have the next game is Texas versus Vandy.
Who would have thought this would have been a matchup of ranked opponents? Texas, number 5 now?
Yeah.
And Vanderbilt's 25.
My gut says Texas destroys them. Is my gut?
I don't think they destroy them.
That's my gut. Maybe because I just can't have nice things in life. But if it's a grind-out game, I go Vandy.
I think Vandy's actually pretty good.
I hope so.
They've had one game where they didn't show up, and that was Georgia State, which, it's unforgivable almost, except you're Vandy. But, they've beaten Virginia Tech. They've taken Missouri into overtime, would have won it in regulation, had a chance, beaten Alabama. Now, I would pick Texas, but if Texas has any kind of A, hangover from Georgia, or B, just dismiss them because they're Vanderbilt, they're not ready to play. Vanderbilt beat them.
Yeah. No, I like watching Vandy play. I never thought I would say that out loud, but I enjoy watching their style of football.
And I think Eli Stowers is going to be your all-SEC tight end.
I hope so. It'd be great for him. All right, the next game on the list is as follows: Notre Dame and Navy.
Notre Dame and Navy.
What do we want? Because the heart wants Navy.
Yeah.
I'm a wannabe military guy. I like Navy. I like their story. But for the A&M storyline, I think I need Notre Dame to win.
I think I'm going to root for Navy.
Actually, let me take that back. I don't need Notre Dame to win. If A&M wins games, it doesn't matter what the other teams do. So, you know what? I changed my. That's old. That's loser mentality thinking. I'm winning.
That's right. Winnering. Notre Dame probably wins, but they've had so many injuries, and this Navy team's actually pretty good. They got the quarterback Blake something or another. I can't even remember his last name. It's a long name that Matthew Dawson's trying to get me to put into the Heisman discussion. I'm like, settle down. But
the Army
really
QB
good.
too, by the way.
I think I would pick Notre Dame, but I think this is actually going to be a really good game.
Yeah,
I do. I think Navy is a talented team. I hope they win. I'd love to see them and Army stay undefeated.
Well, I was reading a little bit about both Army and Navy, which is possible they meet twice this year. That's possible, but regardless,
in the most bizarre way too.
Yeah. It would be after the playoffs are announced, the second time they would play.
They would play for the conference championship before they would actually play their regular season game.
Correct. It's so stupid. Just fix it, guys. Just make a call. Fans will understand. You'll change the schedule. It's fine. I was going to say something. Schedule-wise, they haven't played either Army or Navy. They have a very, very easy schedule compared to the others.
Kind of like Notre Dame.
Kind of like Notre Dame. There you go.
Notre Dame's played A&M, okay, and then since then, Northern Illinois, Purdue. Did they play Wake? No, NC State. It's they're playing those ACC teams.
All right,
and they're not Clemson.
Next game,
the biggest game of the weekend, and that's not just here. That's the biggest game in the nation this week. It's number 14 Texas A&M playing host to number 8 LSU. Both teams are undefeated in conference play. The winner has the inside track to Atlanta and the college football playoff.
All right. We are kind of late because we're going to have Max Wright with us at 8:20. I don't think the people know what they're listening to. You think they're listening to, they're probably thinking they're listening to Gardening 101, but they're not.
No, they know this is the Go Hour.
Presented by who?
CC Creations.
Yeah, but the entire enterprise is?
Oh, you keep changing it.
No.
This is TexAgs Live.
Presented by?
David Gardner's Jewelers. He's a gym guy.
Yeah, he is. And we are where? We're
the Wallows Insurance Studio.
Yeah, and this particular area, this cool area is called?
The Cool Zone.
The Holistic Planning Cool Zone.
The Cool Zone for Holistic Planning.
So if you want to invest in pro sports, go to investinprosports.com, and they're going to hook you up. Normal people can buy a stake in teams. So I buy into
the Cowboys?
I don't know if you
maybe not the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a little more expensive. I'm thinking more MLS. You're more of an MLS guy.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think MLS,
like the brokers, MLS, of course.
They don't do it indoors anymore, do they?
That'd be called indoor soccer, which is a different sport.
Okay. They're still kicking the ball around, right?
They are. We're going to kick it to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I know I got to check in with you, Kate, here in a second. What's going on? Torniak.
Good morning.
I didn't know if I wanted to go Torniak or not, but
I'm glad that you did.
Caitlin, what's up?
Well, we have some exciting Aggie soccer throughout this weekend. They just finished a 2-2 draw against LSU and then are traveling to Fayetteville tomorrow to face the number 4 Arkansas Razorbacks, and then will return to Ellis Field on Sunday to face number 3 Mississippi State at 5 p.m. for the last game of the regular season.
Huge stretch for Coach G and company. They have to get these. They really need to win the next 2 games. 2 out of 3 would be great because they have the SEC tournament. One more story.
We also have Aggie volleyball is returning to Austin for the second match of this year, facing the number 7 Longhorns tonight at 7 p.m. They're coming off a comeback victory over Arkansas, but the Longhorns are entering the game with a perfect 7-0 record in SEC play, and the Longhorns won the last time they met earlier this season. So feeling good about this game and excited for tonight.
It was a heck of a game.
Yeah, it was.
That seasonal.
That's the Torniak there at the Angry Elephant Youth and Social Center. We're going to be at the Angry Elephant in South College Station on Friday. 3-hour broadcast. The McKinney brothers during the 8 o'clock hour. Michael,
in the 8 o'clock hour.
I'm sorry, the 10 o'clock hour. Sorry. 10 o'clock. I'm going backwards. 10 o'clock hour, final countdown. Lucci, McKinney brothers. 9 o'clock hour, Michael Early. Are you familiar with his game?
Well, he's the coach at the baseball
He's awesome,
team.
right? 8 o'clock hour, Olin Buchanan.
I'm familiar with his game.
You know who's joining us in the first segment?
You tell me.
The voice of the Aggies.
Oh,
Andrew Monaco. Yeah, the classiest, nicest gentleman I know.
He is a really nice guy.
He's a great guy.
He is.
Yeah, so he'll be with us. And phenomenal
Except that he put
broadcaster.
Brauninger on the baseball.
That bromance that they have, it's ridiculous. Like they hug, kiss each other on each side of the cheek they do in Europe.
Monaco wouldn't do that.
No, Ronnie does it.
Ronnie would.
Yeah, Monaco's like trying to fight it off, and Ronnie's like,
but Bronny's much bigger.
Yeah, he's a big guy. All right, I didn't check in with Cade earlier because I wanted to make sure I got the sponsor in. Cade Bickham is behind the glass. No problem so far, Cade. Good morning, buddy.
Oh, yes. Good morning, y'all. How are y'all doing this morning?
Olin's doing well. I'm doing well.
That is what I like to hear.
I'm glad you like to hear.
I mean, we're working on getting Max Wright for next segment right now, but yeah, I'm super excited for this game this weekend. I pulled my senior tickets on Monday, and I got third deck tickets, so it is going to be packed.
It's going to be great. It's going to be an awesome environment. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Max Wright, OB. Your thoughts on turning $5 into $70? Does that sound like something you would be interested in?
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Are you good at predicting things in sports sometimes?
Sometimes I am.
Yeah. If I gave you 2 to 6 player stat projections and I said you get to pick what you want to do more than or less than, you think you could do okay in that situation? You can certainly try.
I could certainly try, yeah.
If I said, you know what, buddy? I'm going to give you 50 free. 50 free.
50.
50.
50.
50 free.
Okay.
50 free, meaning I'm going to give you $50 free dollars when you go to prizepicks.com. See how I turned that into a spot?
Yeah.
/ TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs. $50 free dollars when you play $5 in Prize Picks. And 2 to 6 player stat projections. You can pick, I don't know, NFL, NBA, college football, your favorite EPL. Like, you can pick it all.
EPL?
EPL. Yeah. The English Premier League, of course. You call it the Premier League.
I thought maybe that was some kind of, I don't know, something like medical.
No. That's AARP for you, my friend.
It is.
And I'm like 2 years away from it. PrizePicks.com / TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs. Get those 50 free dollars when you play in $5 lineups. It's Prize Picks.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
And we're back on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. I believe we're having problems getting Max Wright up on the Zoom. If we need to call him at Brian Broadcasting, guys, go ahead and do that. It is TexAgs Live. As I mentioned, we are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. If you want to text the show, we'll read that text on the Little Sluggers text line. If you want to call the show, we'll pick it up on the Boss Firearms hotline. And I believe we have Max Wright in the background. So let's go straight to that Boss Firearms hotline. Max, good morning, buddy.
Good morning. How are y'all?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great.
So, excuse me. Let's start things off with like the vibe of the moment, right? You got the biggest game of the season, the biggest game in years here at Kyle Field, with a legit chance to change the trajectory of this program. Obviously, there's a lot more work to do, but if they get this win, they will certainly be in the driver's seat for all the things we've been talking about for many years.
Oh yeah, the moment couldn't be bigger. I think that you look at, what type of game this is going to be, a nighttime game in Kyle Field. The entire country with their eyes on this game to see who's going to have the lone, number one spot in the SEC. The start of the Elko era. I don't think you could start off a new coaching tenure better than the way that he's, bounced back from that first week loss. It is. I know from experience getting to be a part of some big games that this one holds a lot of weight, and it is one that all the guys on the team are super excited to be a part of. I've been talking to a few of them, and they are fired up to go out and earn and prove to the country that they are the best team in the SEC. And that's what they want to try and do this week. And man, they are hungry to go out and do that.
Max, when you have a big game like this coming up, is there any way that you approach it to make sure that, you don't get, I guess, ready to play too soon, right? That you're so excited about the game that you peak on Thursday instead of Saturday?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that good teams don't change their preparation for bigger games or for different opponents. I think that the teams that you see, competing for national championships are the ones that, prepare the same way no matter who they're playing, no matter what game it's going to be on the weekend. I think that, Coach Elko has been preaching that ever since I was there as a defensive player my freshman and sophomore year. He's big on you don't change the preparation. You prepare as best you can for every single opponent that you have. It's giving respect for that opponent, and it's also giving yourself the best chance to win no matter who you're playing. And I know that that's what Coach Elko is doing this week. He, obviously everyone knows that it's a big game in Kyle Field this weekend. It's going to be one of the most active environments that we've ever had in that stadium, but you can't let the moment get too big. You can't put a giant spotlight on this and say, man, this game matters more than anything else. No. Okay. It's another game in Kyle Field. It's a chance to go out and to prove to the country again this week that we are one of the best teams in this conference and that we're a real contender moving forwards. I think that Elko is doing a really good job of keeping these guys level headed, obviously amped up about it, but you can't let it become bigger than what it is. It's another week to go out and win and to go out and prove yourself.
Maybe not necessarily relevant to this week, hopefully not, but I want you to give us some examples of coach speak, play like you practice, where it actually turned to fruition. You guys had a bad week of practice and you got beat up. And maybe the opposite of it. You didn't have a great week of practice, but somehow it all clicked on game day.
Man, looking back at practices where we had, bad weeks of practices or good weeks of practices, and then it kind of altered the outcome. Man, there's been a few of those weeks where, we look back at the week that we had before the game and kind of could see the hints that maybe we're going to have the best performance. There's a few that come to mind. I think about the South Carolina game where we played them in South Carolina and they took back that opening kickoff 108 yards, I think is what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the entire week before that there were some things that we were working on where special teams just wasn't clicking. Our coverage units were maybe having some problems. It goes back to your preparation. We were doing things, trying to do some things differently and came back to bite us. I still remember that was one of the loudest experiences in a stadium that I've had when, obviously South Carolina has their sandstorm that they play and we're standing on the sideline. Offenses, watching the kickoff get ran back. Then we have to go out there for the next drive and we had the fumble. Where they got the ball again in 2 minutes, they scored 14 points. So, especially in big games, you can't get behind early. You won't win a game in the first 2 minutes, but you certainly can put yourself behind the 8 ball in the first 2 minutes. So there's a lot of games looking back at that maybe we didn't have the best week of preparation that kind of came back to bite us, but that one definitely stays in my mind.
As a player, what can that crowd do for you in this game against LSU? I mean, if you were still playing.
Yeah, the 12th man's everything whenever you're on the field, especially as a defensive player. I mean, they're your fuel. They're what gets you going. I mean, you think about just the weight of this game and what's in this moment, to have 106,000 plus people just giving everything they have to try and support you while you're out there. There's nothing more invigorating than that. You think about late in the drive whenever you're tired and the third down and you're worn out, you just had to run down a guy at the sideline, and then you hear the 12th man getting absolutely bonkers for you. It gives you a second life. I mean, people always talk about the power of the 12th man and what that fan base can do to you. It's real, and I know that the guys, whenever they talk about that in their interviews, they're not just saying that for press like hype to try and make the 12th man feel good. No, it's a real thing. The fans play into it. The fans can create problems for their offense with communications. I mean, there's no better fan base, and getting to play all over the SEC, I can say that in Kyle Field, it plays a huge difference.
All right, last thing for you, Max. What do you think this weekend? What? And I don't want to simplify it too much, but what will it take to beat LSU at home, where these are two teams that understand the moment? A&M is trying to break through. LSU has broken through, obviously, in years past. What is it going to take for A&M to win this weekend?
I'm glad you asked, because I've been looking at a lot of different things that are going to be a huge part of this game. I think that this week especially, it's going to be one in the trenches. I mean, you look at these two fronts, offensively and defensively, you have a ton of talent. You have a ton of guys who are going to be taken in the next upcoming draft. I mean, you look at LSU's offensive line with their two starting tackles. I mean, both those tackles are probably going to be first, second round guys. They're both super talented. And both of our DNs, I think, are going to be first, second round guys. And then you flip the script where they have a very talented defensive line. And they have multiple guys on the defensive front who have over 3 sacks. They have, disruptive players. That linebacker Weeks, who's been coming in and kind of solidifying himself in the linebacker role. I think that in the trenches, that's going to be where this game is won. Whoever can establish the run, whoever can win the point of attack in that way is going to have a chance to win this football game. It's going to be a dogfight matchup. It's going to be a slugfest. It's going to be a game that afterwards, on Sunday, I know that these guys are going to be super sore, hobbling in to stretch and stride the next day. But this is going to be a true SEC matchup where both defensive fronts and both offensive fronts have NFL talent that you're going to see playing on Sundays. I mean, this is what you want from the SEC. This is what you sign up for whenever you play in the SEC. A big game with a lot on the line. And I think that in the trenches, especially this week, whoever can win the point of attack is going to win this football game.
Max, thanks for your time, buddy. Thanks for changing your schedule up. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Gig 'em. Max right there on the Boss Firearms hotline. I got an idea.
What is it?
We, Olin David,
yeah,
take Max Wright to go eat somewhere, right? And we just talk about, he looks like he'd be your financial planner and also your tight end on a championship caliber team. Like he could be both. And we just talked to him about his time at playing at A&M and also just about the food we're eating, because the food at 1775 would be the place we'd go. Right?
Of course, because I remember when we were coming back from 1775 when you called Max to ask him about appearing each week. So
that's a great memory. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because it was my first. It was my first experience, first time to experience 1775, and so like all first experiences, it stayed with me. Everything about it was so amazing that I even remember the drive home.
I'm going to say something negative about 1775 that'll get me in trouble, but I have to be very honest. Something negative, right? Because I'm honest.
Right.
The food is so good that I ate too much.
Yeah.
I don't have self-discipline. I mean, in that arena.
I was going to say, yeah, we both know I don't.
I mean, but it was like one of those, like, you know what? I should bring most of this food back home.
I tell you how good it was. How everybody knows, or if you listen to this show enough, you know that I have a sweet tooth. I like dessert, and I ate so much of the barbecue that was so amazing. That those pork ribs, especially, I love those pork ribs and the brisket and the sausage. That's what we had, and then the queso mac and cheese, which is amazing.
Amazing.
That then when they brought us a dessert,
I actually ate the dessert.
I couldn't eat it.
I did. I was like, I'm just going to have a little bite. That bite became 12 bites, and I finished the whole darn thing. Good.
I'm sure it was amazing. I wish I would have had a chance to experience it.
It is $17.75, open Thursdays through Saturday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Online ordering turns off at 10 a.m., 8203 Raymond Stotzer Parkway in College Station. Call them up, 979-492-6241. It's $17.75, TXBBQ.com. On TexAgs Live, we're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations, David Nuño, Olin Buchanan, and we are being visited by the Rotary Lombardi Award, which I've been around it many times because it's been in Houston OP for a while. Lindsey Kroll's here. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hey.
Good to see you. Rhonda Kerby. Hello. How are you?
Nice to meet you.
Class of 91?
Correct.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about it because we got some Aggies on the list, right?
We have.
Got a couple Aggies on the list. I believe Shamar Turner and Nick Scorton.
Nick Scorton and Shamar Turner. That's
Correct.
correct.
Yeah, I would think.
And they've been doing great.
Yeah,
They have been doing fantastic.
I would think Scorton would be one of those guys that would be among the leaders if they kept up with such a thing. He's having such a big year.
Am I right? The watch list has been out for a little bit?
The watch list has been out for a while. We sent ballots out yesterday morning for the to vote on the semifinals.
Okay.
And we'll have 12 semifinalists. And then later on, we'll have another ballot that with a little more playing time, in between, and we'll come out with the finalists, which are 4. And those 4 will join us in Houston on the 10th and 11th of December. And on the 11th, we have our gala, which is a big event. Olin's been to it many times, I guess. And we've enjoyed every time, and we'll announce the winner. And it's exciting.
Yeah, I was last there when Kenyon Green was a finalist.
Yeah, Kenyon's a fabulous guy.
Was it the center from Iowa won it that year? And I think, or was it Aiden Hutchinson?
I think it was Aiden Hutchinson.
Defensive end for Michigan.
Yeah, that's right.
And now Spine's dad. Well, his dad was his coach representative.
Yeah, right. It was a lot of fun, and of course, the main reason we do it is to raise money for cancer research.
Right.
And we do it every year.
So what's the story? I know it's a good story, but tell us the story about why the trophy is a block of granite.
Why don't you go ahead?
Okay, so obviously before Vince Lombardi played in the NFL, he played as a lineman at the University of Fordham. And the offensive line at that time when he played at Fordham was known as the 7 blocks of granite. So we, in honor of that team at Fordham, it is out of Texas pink granite from the Hill Country. And if you will notice, it's tipped slightly. Because that is to mimic the stance of a lineman, offensive lineman. And then it was actually designed by a local sculptor and artist out of Houston called Mark Storm.
And also, it's 4 down linemen. It could be on the defensive line and on the offensive line.
Could be. Yep.
And obviously, it could be a linebacker too.
Could be a linebacker,
because
as in Dat Wynn,
that's
who
right.
won the Lombardi Award. His name is etched in the case right now. So,
yeah, I've been sitting there reading all the names of past winners, and I've watched a lot. I've watched them all play, even from starting with 1970. I've seen them all play.
Yep.
So Lindsey he emailed me a little story. Tell me a little bit about your grandfather because he's an Aggie, 1894, class of 90.
He's a class of 1894.
Yeah.
And I tell people he fought in the big war, the Spanish-American War in Cuba. And I've learned just this year that Hugh McElroy's grandfather also fought in the Spanish-American War in Cuba. And so I was going to get with Hugh and see if we could compare some notes and things.
Yeah.
Speaking of Hugh, we're going to be honoring him tonight. Breaking Tradition, the movie comes out tonight at 7 o'clock across the street at Rudder, so we're looking forward to that. Tell me a little bit of some facts about the Lombardi Award. I wrote some down here. Millions of dollars been raised to support cancer research, made from 40 pounds, which we talked about, of Texas pink granite. And Houston's had it for most of the whole time. The whole time. Okay.
Since inception. You want me to tell the story?
Tell the
I'm
story.
a big history buff. So in 1971, when Vince Lombardi passed away, believe it or not, his sister Madeline lived in Houston. So some gentlemen from the Rotary Club of Houston approached Madeline about the possibility of talking to Marie, Vince's widow, about establishing the award to honor the top college lineman in football. She granted that right on basically a single paragraph letter that the Rotary Club of Houston obviously has stored away in its archives. And granted the right to use Vince's name. So there's only 2 awards or official items that carry the Vince Lombardi name. Obviously, the winner of the Super Bowl gets the Vince Lombardi Trophy and the Lombardi Award. And so actually, Madeline's son is on our committee. He's the official representative for the family. And he's in Rotary now in Denver and tells the story. As he grew up, he used to go to the committee meetings for the Lombardi Award. And it started then. It's been in Houston ever since. So we're very proud that it's not only a very prestigious college football award, but also that it's the City of Houston's college football award.
Obi, I think you'll appreciate this. Now, I don't expect one of the names I'm about to read to be a winner, but the watch list has got 6 players playing in this weekend's game. You got 4 from LSU. Harold Perkins, one of the names, who's obviously done for the year. And obviously
I would imagine
2 Aggies.
Will Campbell is on there, probably Emory Jones.
Emory Jones is on there as well. Savion Jones. Savion Jones, yeah. That's the other name.
Keep up with the Joneses.
They're they're not family. But it is, there's a chance that the winner will be playing Saturday at Kyle Field.
Probably a good chance. Maybe it might even come down to if Scorton and Turner,
Right.
how well they do against Jones and Jones and the law firm of Jones and Campbell
Versus the other, the Shamars and the Scortons. Hey, thank you so much for coming in. Is there any, just before we let you go, where people can get involved, how they can buy tickets, how they can help cancer research? Just give us a little of the particulars.
The website to go to is lombardiaward.org.
Okay.
And that contains all the players on the watch list with a little bio link on each player. So you can go and look at your favorite team, your favorite college, whatever. And then also in there is how to sponsor, how to buy a table,
right.
What it would be. And there's some really neat things to do. If you buy a high-priced table, you get to come and meet the 4 finalists and have your pictures taken with the beautiful panoramas. I mean, I guess Rhonda and I probably got 10 pictures of all the times we've been with all these guys, Kenyon Green and many of the others.
And follow us all on social media. We're doing some fun things. The trophy actually was at the Southwest Classic. It's going to be at the North Shore Atascocita football game this weekend. So fans can come out and get their picture taken with the trophy. And there's been some great things that we've done on the social media accounts. So if people want to kind of keep up with it there.
I'll leave our audience with this. Go ahead, Opie.
Well, I was just saying, I'm looking at the website now, and look, we're going to be making that presentation in 49 days, 8 hours, 40 minutes, and 26 seconds.
You got the numbers right there.
Very good.
43 previous winners, finalists are in the College Football Hall of Fame, and also 73 winners and finalists have been chosen in the first round of the NFL Draft. 8 were overall number one picks. So that just tells you the kind of quality that comes there to the Rotary Lombardi Award. Thank you both for coming in.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Thank you for having us.
Right now we're talking Duck Camp. I'm actually wearing my Duck Camp T-shirt right now. OB's got a full closet of Duck Camp. I think Quinn stole most of the
he
gear.
stole them.
Yeah, they're awesome.
He says it's too nice for an old man like me to wear.
Well, he ain't wrong.
So he took it.
Yeah, Quinn will make it look good.
I thought I looked
You
good
look
in it.
great. OB, you do look great, but it's really Duck Camp that's making you look. I'm sorry, that was rude, but it's kind of
true, though.
Yeah. And same with me. Duck Camp gear is fantastic. You should get it if you're into hunting, if you're into fishing, if you're into just looking good, going to the gym, whatever it may be. Very comfortable clothing. They're taking care of me for when I go on my first hunt here in a couple of weeks. Check out the website, duckcamp.com. Duck Camp gear is made for people that live for the moments out there where there are fish to catch, birds to hunt, time to kill, and of course, football to watch. Duckcamp.com. Thank you, friends. Everyone, David Nuño here in a moment right now for Snaps Clothing. They are the makers of the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snap shirts. I'm wearing it right now. This is part of their Tailgater collection. It's built for game day. My friend Edgar over there is doing great work. You've got to check out the clothing. It's the Pearl Snaps. It's the cool look. It's kind of hip, but also Western. You'll love it, and they have great stuff there. They'll keep you comfortable as you're repping your Aggie gear, and it's the place to go to get it. Whether you're watching the game from home or tailgating before watching the stands, these shirts have you covered. Head to snapsclothing.com. That is snapsclothing.com to gear up for the season. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Rollo Insurance Studio, the Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. He's Olin Buchanan. I'm David Nuño. And we go to the Torniac, Caitlin Tornin there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I'm sure we got a text or two or a thought out there to chew on.
Yes, we do have some chats, but I was just looking through Twitter and saw that, well, if you haven't heard, the 12th Man is doing a blackout for this game at Kyle Field, and Luke Evangelist posted on his Twitter that the last time A&M had a blackout against a top 15 team was when the Aggie men's basketball team took down number 11 Tennessee in a sold-out Reed Arena.
I remember that.
I do too.
Yeah.
So I thought that was...
Was that 2 years ago?
I think that was... I feel like it was last year.
I thought it was last year.
Oh, was it last year? Okay.
Yeah, it all starts to run together to me.
It does. It does. What else, Caitlin?
We have a lot of chat about this upcoming UT Vanderbilt game and the A&M LSU game on the YouTube chat.
I saw a lot of back and forth on there.
A lot of back and forth. Gig'em Nurse says, I think losses happen in the SEC when you least expect it, but the arrogance of fan bases who think that the team is invincible are the best entertainment in the midst of all the back and forth.
So what about fan bases that think the opposite, that their team's going to lose every game that they play? Because there is that too, even with pretty good programs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about us.
You don't ever think that they're going to lose every game. You just get...
No. I have moments of that.
Right.
Right? Like I have moments like, oh, we're not going to get a first down.
You're bipolar through the game.
Yeah.
From kickoff to...
I can change in a moment.
You are.
Yeah, like, oh, God, it's over. Oh, my God, we're going to win this mother. And I say the word mother. I do.
He does.
I do. In Spanish. Madre.
Madre.
OB,
Ay, caramba.
Thank you very much, buddy.
Of course.
When we come back on TexAgs Live, Coach G, John Harris, Brian Kortan, Ryan Brauninger, and still trying to figure out 10:35 because Jacob Hester had to reschedule, so we'll see when we can get him on the program. That and more. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Welcome back into TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline, talk a little Aggie soccer. Coach G joining us here on the program. Coach G, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm well. Let's kind of look back and then look ahead because it's the stretch is here. The time is now. Let's just kind of talk about the LSU game. Things got a little out of hand. You had to take matters in your own hands. You ended up with a 2-2 tie.
Yeah, I mean, it was a game that was frustrating in a lot of ways, in that we were in control of the game in a lot of ways. In that we, if you put it into a golf analogy, it was we're brilliant. Put the ball, where we wanted it. Move the ball great. Put them on their heels, consistently. I think we outshot them 24-6, if my memory serves. And it was a game where, we played really, really well. Scored 2 great goals. Brilliant goal to set things up with a ball that started with a goalkeeper, moved it left, moved across the field, set them up, and then a great finish by Micaiah McDonald to get the first goal. But then, out of our hands a little bit, and without complaining too much about the referee, he scored 2 goals, and things were it seemed like a little bit unjust, and that's kind of when my head exploded, and I left the venue by his decision. So, but the team responded, and great goal to get the equalizer late by Sidney Becerra. We ended up with a 2-2 draw that probably should have been a 3-1 result for us, or a 3-2 result for us. But 2-2 now means that we've got to get a result this week against the 2 teams that are number 1 and 2 in the SEC standings. They also happen to be number 2 and number 5 in the RPI, number 3 and number 5 in the national ranking. So really tall tale as far as what people will talk about later when we do get the results, but it's going to be a tough road as far as we leave today to go up to Arkansas to play them. It's always a tough game when you go into Fayetteville, and they're 11-1-1 on the season, and then we'll go and play at home this Sunday against the only team that beat Arkansas, that being Mississippi State. They're undefeated in the league, and I think their record right now is 13-1-0 on the season. So 2 teams having the best years of their program's histories, both in the same week. So it's a big week for us.
Well, gee, I also look at what you guys have done this year, and not only are you capable of doing it, you've done it. I mean, you beat Auburn. I believe that game was on the road. Correct me if I'm wrong, but regardless, you beat one of the top teams in the SEC. So this team not only can do it, has shown that they can play with the top dogs.
Yeah, I mean, we have 2 wins over top 15 teams nationally, and we beat them pretty soundly. Beat Auburn 4-1. So it's it's in our wheelhouse to do it. We have to, all the things have got to be put together. We've had the issues for us has been our finishing. We knew coming into the year because most of our most exciting forwards are not they're redshirted this year because of injury. And we've had some issues with, injuries to our goalkeepers. Those are your two key people at both ends of the field. But Sid Fuller is feeling better now, so she's, at least up to not 100%, but feeling better. And then, we still are still searching for who's going to be able to put the ball in the back of the net. But it's one of those situations where on any day it could happen. And so we're hoping that this week will be a better finishing when we go and play them, there. And then of course Sunday is Senior Day, so Senior Day is maybe there'll be some extra in our finishers this Sunday evening at 5:00.
G, would you say this season is kind of frustrating, or is it more of like we're right there? We just need one more play here, one more play there.
Well, that's the definition of frustrating, isn't it? It's just when our standards are so high and they've been set so high, no program has won more championships than our program, and we set ourselves up to win over and over and over, and and we set a schedule to play at that championship level, and then then we don't have some of the pieces that that we need to play at that level to kind of taken out of it. That makes it to where we've given away some gifts. We've given away some goals that have cost us the ability to win those games, or we've had those gifts given away by people with whistles. So it just makes it that much more difficult when the offense isn't clicking. It puts that much more pressure on the defense, and that can be said in any sport. So it's frustrating. It's a pretty good way to explain it. But that said, it's still right there. I mean, we still have the ability this week to we get a result even in one of these two games. Then we push ourselves into the postseason, and in front of us. But these are two pressure games. But these are two great opportunities, because when you play teams that are in the top two teams in the top 5 in the RPI, the ability to get a massive bounce out of these is huge, and that's what we have the opportunity for. If we were playing teams, that were not in the SEC, that were not with such a big RPI bounce potential, then it would be just okay. Well, we're just going to finish off the season and that's it. But that's not the way it is in the SEC. We're in a situation now where, we'll see. We'll go into these games. We'll put everything into it. We'll scheme specifically for these games. Have ourselves ready to compete at 100% of what we have, and then it'll be a deal of okay. Here's Thursday. Get what we can. Come in there, snatch what we can, take what we can, and then get that result, and then move on to the next one on Sunday at home in front of the 12th man and on a big senior night event. And then you've got the SEC tournament the week after. So it's just keep plugging away, keep fighting, keep your head moving forward, and focusing on the next fight that you've got. And that's exactly where our heads are right now.
G, sounds like to me that you're like, yeah, I'm glad we get this opportunity, not only to measure ourselves against two of the best teams in the entire conference, but we get this opportunity as opposed to if you played some lesser team, it doesn't move the needle.
That's right. And that's exactly where we are. We're in a position now where, hey, we have these opportunities because of who we are and where we are. And, this is why these players came to Texas A&M, is to play in big games. And these are big games. And we get a chance to do it. Number one, we get to do it on TV tomorrow night, 6:30 kickoff, and we get a chance to do it on TV in front of the 12th man, 5 o'clock on Sunday. So this is why you put on the maroon and white. This is why you came to Texas A&M. This is it. Let's go.
G, let's spend a few minutes on your seniors, because I won't be able to talk to you before we get to honor them on Sunday. Just talk about this group of players that have meant so much to you in this program.
Well, you've got seven seniors in this particular class. A couple of them, came in as transfers. So those are players who had the opportunity to kind of wash experiences and then come in and do something different and unique here at Texas A&M. That's Allie Lowry, who's here just for 1 year, and then Jazz Wilkinson, who's been here for 2 seasons and came in and was our leading scorer last year. And then you've got players who have been here for their entire careers and have had great impacts on the program. And people like Mia Pante and Micaiah McDonald, who people really associate when they think of what our program is like. Over the last 2 years, those are two key players that people really point to and look at. Same thing with Macy Matula, who's one of our key academic stalwart. She's a engineering student with a 3.8 grade point average, which is almost unbelievable that you can be a student athlete and an engineer and have that type of level of excellence at both. You've got Liv Fetzer, who's comes to us from California. Has been just an amazing teammate who's played on the back line for us. Who's done terrific things her entire career. Been a great teammate. Been someone who's been there to stand up for the players all the time. And when she stepped in, she's done a great job. She did super for us, starting the other day in Alabama for us, and was really outstanding as when she stepped in and did those things. And then we've got a lot of seniors who they're not going to be going through senior day, but they are seniors, and the whole thing with COVID and the way things have gone that way has made it to where you never know who's on their last year, who's on the fourth year, and everything else. So it's an older team, but these are the players that are going to be that we're going to be recognizing on this particular night, and it's a great group of people, first and foremost, from great families, and a lot of those families will be here on Sunday to celebrate their daughters, and hopefully we'll have a lot of people out there to kind of give a little extra shout and applause for these young women and the sacrifices that they've made for Texas A&M, and hopefully to help give a little extra boost as we play a super Mississippi State team when they come into town.
G, last thing for you, just your message to the team this upcoming week with the 2 games ahead.
Well, the biggest thing is, here it is. Like I said, this is why you came to A&M, is to play in big games. These are big games. These are big games with low numbers next to them. You're going to play the number 3 team in Mississippi State. It's the highest ranking they've had. It's the greatest team they've ever had. They're trying to put themselves in position. Both these teams trying to put themselves in position to be a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. It's a chance for us to put ourselves into a great position for postseason, both in the NCAAs and in the SEC. This is why you came. You came to play in these types of games. Let's go out and put your best foot forward. Let's go out and really create an amazing experience for yourself. Let's do something big for you and your teammates.
Good luck, my friend. Talk to you soon, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
All right, man. Talk to you later. Have a great day.
You too, sir. Coach G there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with John Harris, who's joining us. But before we do that, let's talk about Rollo Insurance. Priorities matter. God, family, and country. It's not just what they do. It's the kind of people that they are there at the Rollo Insurance Group. And that's what makes them so special. Free yourself from the fatigue of corporate gamesmanship. Restore your confidence in the value of relationship-centered consultation. Go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs, by the way, and find your own personal agent there today. When you go there, you'll see a personal message there from Keith and Jackson and myself here in this studio, the Rollo Insurance Studio. But a goal without a plan is just a wish. And when you get going, when the tough gets going, the sooner or later you're going to have to get things back together, and that's what Rollo Insurance is going to help you do. There are going to be some good days, and they're going to help you find those good days. The website, again, is rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs to learn more today. It is Rollo Insurance, the Rollo Insurance Group. Back on TexAgs Live, we're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 2 of the program. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. We're talking to the Professor John Harris from FootballTakeover.com, and of course, Texans sideline reporter. What's up, Johnny?
What's up, D? How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
A little frustrated. The trip to Lambeau was a fun. It's always a fun trip to go to Lambeau. I mean, in 2016 it snowed the entire time, which just makes it so much more romantic. And this time it was 72 degrees and just beautiful, but didn't play well. And we still almost had a chance to steal that game. So we've been on the road 2 straight weeks, and that's the last time we'll have to do that, which I think is the toughest thing to do in the NFL. When you play multiple games in a row on the road, something like LSU is going to have to do when you have to play multiple games in a row on the road, it gets tough that second game to kind of maintain, effort, energy, all that kind of stuff. So, hung in there as long as we could with an offense that really just wanted to shoot itself in the foot all day long. So hopefully we'll get it right this week. But good A&M win. I know it probably didn't look as great on the scoreboard as people thought, but you go to Starkville, you just, hey, let's get out of there with a W. That's all we got to do. You got out of there with a W, now you get ready for LSU. So I would think good weekend for the Aggies, especially because that team in Austin lost as well.
Great weekend now that you mention it, Johnny. Thank you so much for reminding me of that. Let's talk about LSU, because I think they're certainly improved, but are they as improved as people are making them out to be? Because, and again, you could do this with A&M schedule too, but you look at some of the teams they've beaten and the why behind it. Is the defense really that much improved?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Taylor Green for Arkansas was banged up. He was coming off of being hurt against Tennessee, I think it was. And I thought that was probably the best, I guess, just kind of going through my mind, LSU schedule. It probably was the best that the defense had played. And so you always wonder about that going into a game. It's kind of like Georgia. Georgia hadn't played a complete game defensively all year long after the opener. It really had been average. And then all of a sudden they open up a can of what on Texas. And so it's like, are they just lying in wait? Did they get a couple of key guys back healthy? And I think that's what it was for Georgia. But Harold Perkins didn't walk in through that door. So I just don't know how good LSU's defense. You know this because you and I've talked about this, and I've said this. I don't know how good LSU is defensively. Now, I will say, since Perkins has been gone, I expected them to not fade, but they struggle a bit. But I think they've actually played better, kind of as a whole is greater than the sum of its parts sort of thing. And so I think they've probably played better. I don't know that they can do dynamic things. And I wonder how they'll handle just smash mouth of A&M and what they're going to do about it. And then whether A&M can hit some play action, maybe not shots, but get some good play action looks off of some of their run game if LSU wants to commit numbers to the box to be able to stop that. I've not been a huge believer in LSU all year long. I've picked against them numerous times. I thought Ole Miss would beat them at LSU or at Baton Rouge. I thought they'd get knocked off other places. And unfortunately, the one thing that LSU's schedule, whatever it is, has allowed them to do, it's to play big games and have close finishes. So they know how to finish at the end of a game. So they're the type of team that you're going to have to put not just 6 inches under, you're going to have to go a foot or deeper to make sure they're dead and buried as you take them on this week. Because if you let them hang around in the fourth quarter, they know how to make plays to beat you in the fourth quarter. And that's the one thing you cannot do. You can't control this game for 3 quarters, but make a mistake here, a mistake there, and all of a sudden LSU is in the ball game because they know how to capitalize on that at the end of the game. They should never won the South Carolina game. They should never won the Ole Miss game. And now you're talking about a team at that point that's, 4-3? And I think if they lose those 2, they probably don't beat Arkansas. But they did. So they found ways to win, and it's buoyed their confidence. And I think with the defense that's playing probably better together, I still don't think it's great, but it's playing better together, it obviously makes for a pretty tough out on Saturday.
I was talking to an insider on the phone yesterday, and he was like, this reminds me so much of Brian Kelly's first year, where LSU was winning games that you're like, I don't think they're that good, but they keep finding ways to win. And then all of a sudden, they have a chance to win. Well, they were locked up to win the SEC West, and then A&M beat them at the end of the year. So it has some similar vibes to that. And then A&M on the same side is like a team like, as long as you keep stacking wins on wins, I think Connor's going to find his way as he's done at times this year. Like, you see what I'm saying, Johnny?
Yeah, absolutely. I know exactly what you're saying. And I think that, David, that might be kind of the way that college teams are now going to kind of, I won't say follow that trend, but in a sense, maybe follow that trend. I think what we're running into now is because there's so much movement in college football, which we talked about ad nauseum. But what it's doing is it's creating teams that really don't know what their identities are early in a season. And so a team that might get off to a good start might be doing it a different way than what their true identity is. I think A&M has found its identity, and I think that's a good thing. And I think they'll play more consistently. Now, they win every game, I don't know, but I think they'll play more consistently throughout the rest of the year. I think that maybe Georgia found its way with that win over Texas, that, okay, we do have to rely on this defense. You know, Carson Beck is not what we thought he was. And so we're going to have to rely on these manimals on the defensive side to just take over games. And maybe that's what the identity is. And so I think, to me, the only teams, and I said this, actually texted Mark Vandermeer and Andre Ware about this, because I was watching Army against UAB last week, and I was like, you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if this is not a one-year aberration for the service academies, because you think about it, NIL, transfer portal, all that really doesn't impact them. They have years to develop guys, and what you're seeing now is kind of years of development under really good coaching. And to me, those might be the only two programs that kind of stay that way, like, and show you their identity game one. It's the same identity in game 12. I don't know that you're going to see that throughout college football. So I think, to your point, David, that LSU team under Brian Kelly that first year, you know, Jaden was doing some stuff, but they weren't a complete team. They still were a little bit young and green defensively. And then A&M, you know, caught them, and everything went wrong that night because, you know, Jaden in that game couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. He was getting chased all over the place, and A&M ends up winning that game. I think this LSU team is a little different in the sense that, you know, Jaden was such a dynamic talent. They haven't had or couldn't rely on that. And so they've had to kind of get contributions. And then that brings to the forefront Caden Durham. They've now had to rely on the young running back who has been very, very good. And he's very difficult to tackle. And he catches the ball in the backfield pretty well. And so there are a few more no names, if you will, on the offense, but they're playing pretty well together. And I think that's helped them in these close games. So that's what worries me a little bit, is that I think LSU, like I said earlier, they know how to win close games, but I think they're starting to find, okay, we don't need the stars. We play pretty well together. And which, you know, Brian Kelly kind of said from the outset, look, you know, NIL money, we don't have all the NIL money in the world, whatever, we're just going to play with what we got. Well, he kind of probably knew what he had with his team this year. He probably was telling us, look, we don't have a bunch of stars, but you know what? We'll come in there, we'll compete, and we'll play hard. And that's what A&M has got to match, and I think they will on Saturday.
So they have a very good offensive line. A&M has a great defensive line, right? Or both great, I should say. They haven't given up a sack since South Carolina game. A&M is getting to the quarterback and causing some havoc. What gives in this game, Johnny?
Yeah, it's. I'm going to be really interested in how A&M and Jay Bateman decide to go about this, because, you know, early in a game, and I always think of pass rusher. I always ask the pass rushers that I've been around: Devion Clowney, J.J. Watt, Daniil Hunter, Will Anderson. I've asked them, is pass rushing more art than science? And it's kind of gotten all of them to kind of pause and hesitate and kind of wait. I got to think about that for a second, because it's kind of equal parts both. But because there is a piece of art kind of involved in it, it takes a little while sometimes for it to develop. And so I saw that against us the other day with the Packers. The Packers early on, kind of pass rush was a little slow, and then all of a sudden it kind of hit, and they found a few things that hit, but it took a little while for it to develop. I wouldn't be surprised if A&M early on, trying to kind of feel it out. Here's the moves I can use. These are the things I like. And then they'll eventually find the things that work. I think Nick going against Will Campbell is arguably the best one-on-one NFL draft prospect on prospect battle this weekend. I don't know that it's close anywhere else. Those two guys are studs. But the other side, where Emory Jones is, he is a lot better than people think. I mean, he is a mauler. So I think in the run game, that's where he becomes, I think, more problematic. But I think both of them, the pass game, are not as fluid. I think that Campbell is much more technique driven, but I think you can beat him with some athleticism. I think Nick can beat him with a little bit of power. So I think that's going to be one to definitely watch. But on the interior, I think that's where A&M can have an advantage. But where I bring in Jay Bateman is, okay, my guys aren't winning one-on-one battles early. Do I keep letting them go one-on-one? Or do I loop and do I twist? Do I run stunts in games to try and get them free and get them some confidence? And sometimes you have to do that. And I remember talking to Anthony Weaver's defense coordinator of the Dolphins. And I remember him saying that exact thing. He said, if my guys aren't getting there, I got some things up my sleeve. And I kind of asked him, we talked about it a little bit more. He said, if you just get pass rushers going with a sack or just a pressure, that gives them confidence. It's like a three-point shooter. You bang one, and all of a sudden you start having heat check. Like you're going to the next one and the next one. And before you know it, you're shooting 40-footers like Steph Curry and Caitlin Clark. And I don't think the Aggies will do that. But I do think what they will do is if they can't get there early, you might see some stuff from Jay to free up one of them to get some confidence. And then that might, domino at that point might fall. But here's the other thing. You got to bring Nussmeier down. You cannot allow him, you get hands on him and then he breaks through it. And now he's got scramble drill. And now his guys are running free in the secondary for a big play down the field. When you get there, you got to finish him. And that is something that I see a lot in the NFL. These big, strong quarterbacks that come to the NFL and get guys back there, and they get a hand on them, and they tear a shirt and a jersey, but then the quarterback breaks out and he makes a big play. And that's what A&M can't allow Nussmeier to do. They can't allow him to create anything off platform or off schedule. I don't think he's great at it, but he's good enough to hurt A&M. And in this game where 3 points is the difference, really, that could be the difference in getting a field goal drive versus a punt drive. And that's what A&M's got to avoid.
Johnny, how do you assess Connor's play? Obviously, he has some throws he wants to have back. Almost had 4 picks, had 2 picks. A game that he did also make some big throws as well. Just when you see Connor's game, his stat line, and what you saw on the film, what did you see?
Yeah, that's the right way of saying this. I felt like the stat sheet kind of matched up. I thought there was some, I go, okay, numbers, like the interceptions, obviously. But there were some good throws. And I think those are ones, obviously, to build off of. But again, Connor's starting 9th, 10th game, whatever it is. It's not a lot of games he's starting. So he's still going through some of those things. And I'll say this about Mississippi State. It's a frustrating team to play, especially 1 week before LSU, because human nature with a Mississippi State team, that record was terrible. Even though the coaches are like, hey, look at the Georgia film. These guys are better than you think. Human nature for young kids is we're going to roll these guys, right? We're just going to roll them and away we go. You go on the field and you're serious and you try not to look ahead, but it's human nature to look ahead. I think there was probably just a little bit of look ahead factor, and that's okay. But now you got to buckle down, and now you're playing back at home. And I think, Colin, not that I put it on, Colin Klein, but I think in a game like this, Colin's got to make sure he gets Connor some early throws that are, and everybody says screens and things like that. No, I just think it's got to be quick stuff. 3-step quick game just to get Connor going and get him some confidence. And I think once he finds a little bit of a rhythm, he'll be fine. I think quarterbacks have had pretty good success against Arkansas or against LSU. I think Taylor Green from Arkansas had some good success at times. But I think where Connor's got to come up big, David, is he's got to finish the drives. Like if they're down in the red zone and LSU stacking a box to take away the run game, which I would, then Connor's got to make those throws. He's got to make the back shoulder fade in the end zone to Thomas. He's got to throw the slant route, off a quick play action. He's got to be able to finish these things with touchdowns. Because like I said, in a game that should be anywhere from 3 to 4 points, the difference between hitting a slant route for a touchdown and having set up for a field goal could be the difference in the game. So I think that Colin's got to get him comfortable early with, and here's the other thing. Getting comfortable early doesn't always mean short stuff. It can mean letting him air one out too. And I've always felt, this is always my theory, that if I have a young quarterback in particular, I'd like for that dude to air one out early. Take 3 steps from shotgun, max protect, take your fastest receiver, and just run him down the field as far as you can go. I don't care. You got double, triple, just throw the fool out of it. Because that gets all the angst, all the anxiety out. You throw it 60, 65 yards. If you hit it, wow. If you don't, you serve notice, hey, we're not afraid to go deep. And finally, you get all that anxiety out from the quarterback. And I think that's what you want to do from Connor is get all that anxiety out early. So I would like to take a deep shot early, especially if my defense gets a 3 and out. We get a stop. We get good field position. Maybe run inside zone first play, 2nd and 7. Man, I might haul off and throw that thing as far as I can. Just serve notice that I'm not scared to do it and just take some of that anxiety away from Connor in a tough ball game.
Johnny, I got to drop it after this one, but this was just brought to my attention. I was going to ask you about the rest of the SEC, but now I have to ask about this. Luke Evangelist, who works with us, I guess found a video. I haven't listened to it, but apparently Garrett Nussmeier says it's not even that loud at Kyle Field. I hope it's just a joke because I know what happened with Brady Cook when he kind of alluded to the same thing. Now, it looks like this was older video, maybe from this summer. I'm not really sure. I hope it's not like a punked where Billy laughs at me. Oh, you got proven again. Caitlin, try to listen to that soundbite to see if he actually said that. But if he did actually say that, I don't think you don't want to. I'm not saying just because of Kyle Field, although it will bite you in the butt at Kyle Field. It'll hurt. But I just don't think you need to be saying things like that when you're going to be going to these stadiums, Johnny.
I've never understood that. I've never gotten it. You know me. I've always during a game been a trash talker. Always. Like I'll talk trash during a game to anybody, anywhere, anytime. Whether I'm playing, coaching, watching, it doesn't matter. I'll talk trash. But the stuff beforehand, like I always, you know, how many times have I come on TexAgs and said, oh man, Western Arkansas State, man, okay, you know, they've got a couple players. You know, you got to at least show, you know, some respect. And that if that's true, then he's an idiot. But that's just if it's true. I hope it's not. But if it's true, I mean, Aggies know what to do. Good luck.
She just listened. And by the way, this is the biggest show on the planet when it comes to Aggie sports. So everybody at the stadium's obviously listening to the show right now. Caitlin, is it true? Did he actually say that?
So it looks like it's in some sort of not press conference, but interview or something. And he says that it's no competition. Kyle Field is loud, but nothing compared to Death Valley.
Okay, that's not that rude. I mean, I don't think that's that rude. Johnny, I see your face. I don't think that's, I thought he said, that's, you got to say that about your place. But still, I hope we internalize it differently. So I'm sure. He dissed us.
Yeah, do what the internet does and just completely turn it around or whatever, or just put the little last part of what he said. But yeah, he's defending his turf, man. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. I mean, look, I've been to both places. They're loud as hell in both places. So it's going to be tough on him trying to hear that helmet comm, and that's what you want to do as a fan base. And look, I think 12th man has known for a long time it can impact the game. 12th man can impact the game. Coaches have said that for years. The good coaches at A&M have said that for years. And it's absolutely true. So be the 12th man and win the game.
Johnny, appreciate you, brother. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, man. Love you, bud.
Love you, man. That's my guy, John Harris. As in like buddy, friend, confidant, big bro. When we come back here on TexAgs, we're going to have Brian Kortan in studio a little bit late for that one. So Coach Kortan, I apologize. We'll get you here in studio in a few minutes. Right now, we're talking Caldwell Country Chevrolet Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online at CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. I feel like I'm yelling. Am I yelling? No. Okay, I'm just going to lower it. Caldwell. So maybe people, because they're used to me yelling, if I lower the voice, they'll be like, let me listen to the spot a little bit more. Caldwell Country Chevrolet is on Highway 21 in Caldwell. They're online at CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com, and they have great service. I don't think I can continue talking at this level because it kind of hurts my vocal cords to talk lower, so I'm going to go higher as I talk about the greatness that is Caldwell Country Chevrolet, like their impeccable service, like the great pricing, the trade-in value, and just the overall experience second to none. They've got complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers, and obviously they have the best selection around. It is Caldwell Country Chevrolet. We're talking a 15-minute drive from the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. sometimes you take for granted your kind of new little surroundings. And then you have a guest who hasn't been in the studio in a month, and he's like, whoa, I love the studio. Brian Kortan in studio. You hadn't been here since we changed it.
No, this is nice. Fancy. Got moving cameras. That's different.
So in the beginning, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna dress up more often because we got an expensive studio.
Yeah, sure.
And then a month into it, I'm in a t-shirt and jeans. There are certain days I do dress up for it, but it's pretty cool. How's the fall been?
Quick. I mean, it comes at you fast for golf. So really played 5 events in about 8 weeks. I mean, not even 8 weeks. So it comes at you fast. So it's we're done. We finished. So now we get to watch some football and get ready for some basketball, and the guys are excited for those things. They already picked up the rackets and started playing pickleball and stuff yesterday, and so they're excited to kind of be college kids for a few months.
So like it comes by so fast. Right at the beginning, are they able to absorb everything going on campus, or is it just it's so much focus on this fall season? It's difficult.
Yeah, I think it depends on the guy. I mean, some of the guys have a little bit more of a broader focus to colleges. Some are more, just kind of streamlined, like golf and school and just do it, rinse, repeat. But I think the guys that have maybe grown up around it a little bit more consume a little bit more, and the guys that are new to it are learning how to consume it because A&M's a lot. I mean, you come from the places a lot of these guys come from. It's A&M becomes a lot because of the football and the student body and how much stuff is going on. So they have a good time and they're good kids. So I trust them out there.
Help me understand. So 5 tournaments, is that over a 10-week period? Is that over?
It was 8. It was about 8.
8 weeks.
We started the first week of September and we're done already. So yeah, it comes at you quick. I mean, we're in like the 6th or 7th. We were in Sahali, which is up in Seattle, and we just finished in Greenville, South Carolina on Sunday. So I mean, it's fast, it's furious. You get to learn a lot quick about who you are and what your identity is.
I was going to ask about that because without having that much space to kind of fine tune things for the next event, you have to kind of fine tune things and keep going.
Yeah, there's no rest for the weary. We come back and it's get back in the gym, get back in our routines, handle some school, qualify, and then and have some practices where we actually work on some things that we know we need to work on. So it's a build. I mean, it's a constant build, especially with our roster. We're on the youngish side. So it's nice to see these guys working hard and building, but we know that the end is what matters most. So, April, May is kind of our time to shine. So we're trying to build till then and learn as we go and keep pushing the right buttons to get better.
I assume there's different formulas, but what's A&M's formula for ramping up to get you ready? Because the fall obviously has a lot of importance, understanding there's still another grind ahead.
Yeah, we put a lot of trust in our guys. So the summer is busy. So they all play a lot of amateur events in the summer. So we trust that they're doing the right work and getting better. And we follow them, we talk to them, we communicate. So there's a lot going on in the summer. But when they get to us, we track everything from statistics to qualifying. And Coach Fass and myself, we play a lot of golf with them. We watch them qualify. And then obviously the tournament golf. So we quantify and look at everything and really try to help them. Because that's what that's kind of the goal is to help them be the best version of themselves on the golf course and clearly off. But in terms of golf, we work hard on and trying to identify what needs to be done.
You said you're on the younger side. What does that mean? Sophomore, junior-ish?
Yeah, I mean we have. I say younger side, but I mean we do have some older influence. I mean P obviously is senior and Michael Heidelbaugh is senior, and we have a few other guys that are seniors. But the guys that are coming up are the ones that are really, developing. Aaron Pounds and Jack Hester kind of got their feet wet last year and probably didn't go quite as well as they'd hoped. I mean, I know it didn't go as well as they hoped, but they started playing some good golf this summer where they were kind of staying in a nice bookend kind of golf, not too low, not too high, and then got here and started qualifying and really started playing well at home. And sometimes that takes a minute to translate, and it started to translate on the road for those two guys. And they've done a great job for us, and Michael Heidelbaugh's thrown some big rounds in there for us, 66 the last round this week in Greenville. It really helped put us over the top, and we look for P to be our steady guy, and he tries to be really, he really works hard to be that guy, and then we kind of mix a few other guys in there, whether it's Jaime or maybe Jacob Sosa is going to get in there. We've got a few guys. I'm sure we'll leave it a few out, but yeah, it's fun to watch. Oh, freshman Wheaton Ennis, obviously. So. This week we were freshmen, 2 sophomores, and 2 seniors.
Wow.
So that's where I get the youngest side from.
I remember when P was the young guy.
Yeah, doesn't seem like it. Like he was teeing off his last round this week in Greenville, and he looked at me and go, "This is my last round of fall golf as an Aggie." I'm like, "Yeah, it comes by quick, doesn't it?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's amazing." So, yeah, it's been great to watch him grow.
Talk a little bit about that because he's grown obviously on the course, but beyond that as well.
Yeah, they all do. I mean, they consume some college. They grow up a little bit, not just being around the team atmosphere, but they meet people. They have to be in social settings. We require them to do some things where they actually have to be adults in front of other adults, and all that stuff is kind of a build towards being able to handle what comes next, which is for them professional golf and dealing with some of today's world stuff with NIL and potential PGA Tour U stuff where P's obviously ranked in that. So there's a lot of things that you try to build towards, but it's in the time that it happens when they're freshman or sophomore and you're making them kind of do some things that they don't like to do, they start to see the fruits of that, later in their career when they're playing well and they have no problem talking to media. They have no problem having a conversation with donors or giving a speech in a business school class or something like that. So it's fun to watch them grow.
It's so important for them to get that because it doesn't matter if they're a professional golfer or if they become a business person at some point. Like, these are all skills that can translate in different walks of life.
Absolutely. I mean, we do a really good job of putting things in front of them, and they do a really good job of taking them head on because sometimes it makes them uncomfortable, and when you're uncomfortable, you can have growth, and that's kind of a big deal for us.
Tell us a little bit more about Wheaton and the kind of young man he is.
Wheaton's a great kid. I mean, he loves it here. I don't necessarily want to say this was his dream school, but once he kind of got in the front door, he was like, "Wow, this is awesome."
Where I want to
be. And he committed pretty quick in his class, and we're thankful that he's here. He's a really high-end player. He's had some really nice rounds for us, some really good finishes. He'll be a guy that's going to be a stalwart in our lineup, until he leaves here. So, and not only that, he's great around the guys. He really enjoys being an Aggie, and he really is in tune with what he wants to be in terms of golf. Which is it's really cool that he owns up to that and approaches it that way every day.
Do you feel the fall has set you up for what you want to see in the spring? Like it's what you needed to see?
It could have gone better. We ran him through the gauntlet early. I mean, we were playing nothing but power 4 opponents, on places that made us uncomfortable, in great fields. And some of our finishes weren't great, but we were, a good 9 holes. And if we play a good 9 holes here, a good 9 holes there, or even finish a little stronger in a couple of these events, like the last few holes of the event, our resume looks completely different. So we started to do that a little bit at Sedgefield, and then for sure this week at Greenville, the last 9 holes, going head-to-head with the home team, which is a nice program, and then obviously Wake Forest, which is, one of the it's a blue-chip golf program too. So we're going head-to-head with those guys. Our guys really stepped up, and they enjoyed it. They enjoyed the fight. They felt it, and rewarded at the end.
What does it look like from now until you begin?
Well, for now, we evaluate and meet with the guys a little bit, and we'll do some fun stuff with the guys. We'll break up into some teams and do some competitive things just to kind of keep their attention, but also so that they stay connected. We want to have a lot of touch points with them. Short term, I mean, they're tired of us a little bit. I mean, we've been around them a lot. And they'll continue to be around them, but we'll dial it down a little bit. We'll do some individualized, kind of focused practice, kind of map out what it looks like to get a little better over the break, and then we'll get right back to it in January.
Where is it, middle January?
Actually, like the last day or two of January or the first day of February, we go to Jacksonville. And I think prior to that, I think we're going to maybe play a match against Stanford out west.
Oh, cool.
Just go play a match, deal with Stanford. So just to kind of get out of the cold a little bit and go over to Palm Springs and get some green grass under our feet and kind of get ready for the spring, which you think the fall comes at you. The spring never stops coming at you.
So. It's a grind. Come back before that, all right?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Brian Kortan here in studio. When we come back on TexAgs, about maybe a 30-second segment, and then we will talk to Brauninger for Recruiting Country. Right now, we're talking FBS Appliance. Their team of experts are here to help you with appliances that make your house a home. They have all the top brands to really help you in the needs that you have in your house. They've been around Texas for a long time, since 1988. They have all your trusted brands, and they want to make sure that you know that they're going to pride themselves on offering a comprehensive solution that sets them apart from the competition. They specialize in providing top-notch sales and installation services from the leading brands, ensuring a seamless transition and a great customer experience for all of their customers. They've got 8 showrooms across Texas, but they got one right down the road there on Welburn. Check them out online, factorybuilderstores.com. That is factorybuilderstores.com. It's FBS. Back on TexAgs Live, we are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. So I just found out, not that long ago, that Alan Weddell will be in studio at 10:35. In fact, there was a post on the boards like, hey, where's Coach Weddell? Yeah, we haven't had him on since August. We got to get him on. So he's going to be in studio at 10:35. Looking forward to chatting with Coach Weddell. And obviously, we'll be able to talk about how the linebacker crew has gotten better, the defense, and just his overall thoughts on this great matchup against LSU. Right now, I want to talk about Lewis Engineering. They're headquartered in Marshall, Texas, family-owned and operated. Doug Lewis is a great Aggie. He is the guy who runs the show there, but it started with his great-grandfather who opened up this place during the Vietnam War back in 1961. He was making handheld signal flares, and I've told you this before, they're still making those same flares today. Obviously, technology has improved a little bit since then, but they manufacture mostly munitions for the U.S. Department of Defense, but they'll take on any machining or metal fabrication project. They've helped out the aerospace industry, automotive industry, and they have 40 employees, family-owned and operated out of a 50,000 square foot facility. They specialize in high-volume machining and metal plating projects. They're the place to go when you are looking to have a turnkey supplier that will take care of you immediately. The website is lewisengineeringco.com, lewisengineeringco.com, or call them up for a quote, 903-938-6754, 903-938-6754. It's Lewis Engineering. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. He's Ryan Brauninger, and I'm David Nuño. It is time for Recruiting Country, brought to you by Caprock Health System, a faster patient-centered revolution in care. 2 ERs in the Bryan College Station area. You got the original 24-hour ER in South College Station on William D. Fitch, and the full-service hospital with ER in Bryan on Briarcrest. Online at caprockhealthsystem.com. Bronny, before we get into Recruiting Country, we got ourselves a massive guest at the Angry Elephant on Friday.
Yeah, I'm pumped. Coach Early's the best, man. Like, he's just, and he's coming over to hang out with us for one or two segments. Maybe, I don't know what you,
whatever
your show. But yeah, it'll be Billy and I with Coach Early. I think you're going to be working the room, shaking hands, kissing babies.
I'm going to do a fake phone call.
Oh, fake phone call.
Yeah. Hey, David, can we talk? Hold on.
To make it seem like you're more important or too important to talk to the.
No, it's one of my favorite things to do because the folks that come out there, first off, people show up early, and then it's kind of cool when you start talking to them, their story of how they TexAg. I love it. I love hearing that.
Everybody kind of interacts with the product differently, but Coach Early will come out, and he's doing it with pretty impressive. We're going to talk A&M football visitors here in a second, but he's got another big visit weekend lined up.
Oh, is that right?
And it's, they all piggyback off the enormity and importance and atmosphere of the football games. So Coach Early's doing that as well. So it'll be a big weekend for baseball recruiting. And so we're thankful that he's going to take some time to come over there and chat with us.
I was talking to my nephew, my wife's brother's son, and he's a baseball player. They're Texas fans, not A&M fans, but they were at our house watching the game. And I said, well, what if Coach Early and A&M offered you? And he's like, oh, I'd go to A&M. That's the much better baseball program. I was like,
okay.
Well said.
Well, good. Yeah, that's a good quotable clip clip from Nuño on baseball. But, same deal for the scrimmage as it was for Houston Christian. Same deal Friday night at Bluebell Park. I'd get there early if you want a seat because it filled up. I would imagine with more people coming into town for this LSU football game that it'll be another sensational crowd for the baseball scrimmage on Friday. And again, I'm not anticipating, we'll talk to Coach Early on Friday. We know they're going to be without Grahovic and Schott as they continue to work their way back from offseason surgeries. I don't think Jace is going to play. He's been practicing, but why risk anything?
Right.
If that quad is still bothering him, these things are, for Coach Early, I think a lot of it is we just want to get to February and healthy. And let's roll our team out when the games really matter, being as healthy as we possibly can be. So if a kid's a little uncomfortable or a little banged up, why risk it in October when there's so much more to play for in February?
By the way, if you have a question for Bronny, we'll try to do it on the other side. But if you do, text it in at 979-693-1150. That is the Little Sluggers text line. Age-appropriate baseball fundamental classes in Aggieland, Houston, Austin, Brenham for kids 2 to 8. Sign up for a free trial at kodosports.com. That is kodosports.com. Bronny, I guess we start things off with, is it Helaman? Is that
Helaman.
Helaman Kasuga, who obviously Coach Klein sees guys that he wants, and he gets them.
Yeah, that was the kind of the gist of my article this week was he's 2 for 2 so far, and I even said, if he goes out in 2027 and lands his top guy, then maybe Coach Early calls him because you're 3 for 3. He's going to want somebody that can hit at that rate. But and I think it's really because of how we've seen quarterback recruitments go in the past. It's been really interesting to see Coach Klein identify his guy, never really waver. Now, when I say identify his guy, it wasn't Hassan Longstreet from day one, hour one, when he walked into the job here at Texas A&M. You obviously have to scour the country, scour the state, watch tape, and do your due diligence to make sure that, you probably get, maybe there were 20 guys that you wanted to watch and you kind of whittle it down to 10 and then whittle it down to 5. But once he went through all of that, Hassan Longstreet was target 1A and it wasn't moving. There wasn't a 1B. So starred at the top of his big board was Hassan Longstreet. And they really liked Keelan Russell at Duncanville. I think they did their due diligence on some other guys in the state. But for everything that we had heard was like Hassan Longstreet is the guy that he wants, and he's been given the green light to go all in and get him. And he did that. And it was the same deal with Helaman Kasuga. And we started to hear that after Helaman came to camp last summer and performed in front of Colin Klein. Right. And that's kind of where his recruitment took off from an A&M perspective. And Colin Klein, again, nabbed him, targeted him as his number one guy, and went out and got him. And so that's back-to-back classes that there's not been a lot of back and forth. There's not been a lot of, not controversy, but even conversation about the quarterback that A&M is going to take in these classes. That's very different than what we've seen here in the past. And you go back and look at, the Jalen Milroe, Eli Stowers year, where they came to camp on back-to-back days, both holding A&M offers, and it was essentially, they both threw in front of the coaching staff, and they had to make a decision on one. And there was a lot of split opinion on which one they should go after. Obviously, they ended up with Stowers, and Jalen Milroe went to Alabama. You go all the way back to, remember, there was this kind of courtship that was public yet not public of Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah.
Whenever he left Baylor after the Art Briles stuff, and they put him in Kyle Field, and it was a visit, but it wasn't a visit. It was a weird deal. So, there's just been some kind of cloud. Even with the Connor Wigman year, the class of 2022, they recruited Quinn Ewers. Then he graduated early and went to Ohio State. Then in-state, they kind of waited and waited. They offered Connor Wigman and Cade Klubnik at the same time. It was Wigman whose recruitment took hold with A&M quicker, and obviously now he's a starting quarterback here. So, but it's my point is we haven't seen it be this clear-cut and transparent in terms of who their number one guy is in a while. You even think about last year with Miles O'Neill, they had A.J. Maddox committed in that class, and then he decommitted. And anytime that you have two quarterbacks in a class, you just kind of never know. I mean, when the year that Kellen Mond signed with A&M, they took two quarterbacks. It was Connor Blumrick out of Pearland. Right. So you just don't often see this clear of a picture in one class for a quarterback, or at least we haven't, covering A&M, and now we've seen it in back-to-back classes.
Just talk a little bit about Kasuga's skill set and why you think it fits what Colin Klein wants.
Yeah, I think it's very much a similar skill set to Hassan Longstreet. Mm-hmm. And it's a guy that when you watch the tape, number one, they can make throws from the pocket. Arm talent, to me, arm talent does not just mean arm strength. Arm talent means, do I throw the ball on time to the right person with good trajectory? Do I throw a catchable ball? If I have arm strength mixed into that, that goes into that arm talent equation. But arm talent does not equate to arm strength. Zach Calzada has incredible arm strength. I think his arm talent has gotten better, though. You know what I'm saying? We saw arm talent that night when he played against Alabama. So I think both of these, Hassan and Helaman, have great arm talent. But then you also look at the other stuff that Colin Klein has traditionally liked to do, and that's run the quarterback. And these kids, they're already adept at it in high school, and they're doing some of the stuff. I think Helaman Kasuga's coach even said, we've implemented some of A&M's stuff into our offense.
Right.
So you're getting kind of a preview of how Helaman can operate it at the high school level. It's obviously a lot more detailed and a lot more, there's more depth to it when you get into college. But just for him to have that background coming in, I think it'll help him. And he's got 2 more years to play. He's hurt right now. So there's another big jump in terms of growth mentally, physically. I think you're going to see him get to a bigger stature. It's very similar. Him and Hassan Longstreet's skill set are not identical, but the off-platform stuff, which is becoming more and more prevalent when playing quarterback. You just go watch on Sunday, man. How many of these guys, how many times do they make plays with their feet not set? And you better be able to do that, and I think both these kids can.
I know Ruffin is the name that you wanted to get to a little bit too.
Well, Trayshawn Ruffin committed, was it 2 days after?
Was it that quick? Well, you're right, yeah.
Because it was Helaman was Wednesday after I got off the show, I believe. And then we got word on I think it was Thursday, because Thursday night I was covering a game and I got a text that said A&M's making a real run here with Trayshawn Ruffin. Mm-hmm. You guys probably ought to have heads up on that. So we got all of our stuff prepped, and then Trayshawn announced Friday. But I think he called the coaching staff and committed Thursday night. It's probably a kid that, we were still, whenever he visited for the McNeese game, we were still kind of so focused on what was going to happen with the 2025 class that we didn't give that visit enough attention. And because of the opponent that started the game start time, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, 6'3", 310-pounder. Is going to check every physical box of an impact interior defensive lineman in the SEC. Because he's located in North Carolina, I think you're going to have to, hold off some other people. It's kind of in the heart of SEC, ACC country.
Yep.
So Clemson, Miami, he had offers from all across the country, Ohio State, all across the SEC. So for A&M to get that one done, you'd rather, if you really like the kid and you want him, you'd rather have him committed and fight to keep him than him be on the open market, and then you're kind of everybody's pulling at him in all different directions. So the Aggies clearly did enough for him on his visit and in that time afterward in terms of the communication to get this one over the line. And so you got to credit Tony Girardetti and Sean Spencer for doing that. But yeah, I mean, it's a big athletic body, short area quickness. Reminds you a little bit, like in that little phone booth that those guys play in the interior, reminds you a little bit of Dalen Mack.
It doesn't.
Yeah, and he's bigger than Dalen, like taller than Dalen. But the side-to-side, short area burst, the pop that he plays at the line of scrimmage, there's some similarities between he and Dalen Mack there.
It's exciting that they continue getting these guys on the defensive line that, some of them are a little green that they can work with, and others that are already ready to go day one.
And it's weird, like when did you go back? Like what is the moment in time where you point and said A&M really started recruiting the defensive line like that? And I think a ton of credit has to go to Terry Price.
Mm-hmm.
And him winning out for Myles Garrett, I think and Myles Garrett and Deshaun Hall. Those were two recruitments that Terry Price was the key figurehead on, that he won out over everybody in the country. And then not only did they were the highly rated kids, they came to school and he developed them. And then he got paired with Elijah Robinson when Jimbo came in. And Elijah was obviously a fantastic recruiter and developer. But it really turned, I think this whole thing in terms of A&M and defensive line talent turned with Terry Price. And of the many accolades that you could give that man, that's another one that you could hang in his hat. And he just made this place fun for defensive linemen. And it's like Sean Spencer. I saw Coach Spencer at the gym one day. And I said, can I tell you something, man? And I don't know if you know Terry Price at all, but the way you coach reminds me of Terry Price. And I said, that's the highest compliment that I can give a person, especially a coach, is that you remind me of Terry Price. And so I think that just that energy and those guys have kept playing at that same rate. Obviously, Tony Girardetti's experience as a player here, experience with the university, his growth as a coach, and now we're starting to see his growth on the recruiting trail. That's lended itself or been another piece to the puzzle there, another ingredient to the recipe. But it's been cool. It's like every year now, A&M's going and signing impact defensive linemen, and then you look up on Saturday and they're lining up guys 6, 7, 8 deep that are impact defensive linemen. So they're not only doing a great job of identifying talent, recruiting great talent, but they're doing a good job of developing it as well.
Talk to me a little bit about Javion Hilson.
It's another defensive lineman, and he is one of the most highly rated, highly coveted uncommitted defensive ends still on the market. And I think A&M's right there.
He's 25?
Yeah, he's at 25. He's committed to Florida State for a while. He's decommitted from Florida State. Back on the market. It would not surprise me. Our visitor list is going to go out tomorrow. It would not surprise me to see Javion Hilson in town for this game this weekend. That visitor list is going to be pretty star-studded. If he's on there, he'll just only add to that. And sensational player, sensational prospect, would be kind of in the Shamar Stewart mold.
Mm-hmm.
Florida kid that's just super high upside and got a great look to him already. Like you're going to look at him and go, oh, yeah that's like Keati Armstrong. You look at Keati Armstrong and go, no doubt that guy's a freak athlete, football playing type of dude. So, A&M right there in it, along with a lot of schools. Texas is right there in it for Javion Hilson as well. It'll be interesting to see kind of what Kyle Field at night can do for not just that recruitment, but all these guys on this visitor list. Again, it's not always, these recruits are not tied to the result. They're not. They're tied to the experience. So what kind of experience can Kyle Field and the 12th man leave for all these kids that are coming in? You'd bet on it being really positive. But if A&M's able to pull off a win, that can only add to it.
It adds to the environment,
sure.
Right?
I mean, you go back and you think to that 7 overtime game against LSU and kind of the recruits were running onto the field.
So they stayed for all that?
Oh, yeah. They were on the field. I think Olin tells a story how he bumped into DJ Lagway on the field afterward, and DJ was like, is it okay if I come on the field? And Olin's like, I'm not the guy to ask. Go have fun. So Good job, Olin. Yeah, good job, Olin. At least you weren't a fuddy-duddy.
Right.
No, stay off the field. But no, that was a lot of kids, a lot of recruits that were running on the field after the end of that game. So if you leave them with a memory like that, obviously it helps. But again, they're not directly tied to the result.
Yeah, but when they do win, it does add to the experience.
Right. I'm not negating that.
Yeah.
I'm saying that does add to it, but it is not a differentiating factor for a lot of them.
So can you, I know you're going to wait till tomorrow to push your article, and hopefully folks or premium subscribers can see that, but give us a little, maybe a tease, a hint. Because you're saying it's going to be big. Are we thinking Notre Dame level?
Yeah, I don't know about Notre Dame in terms of quantity, but it'll be Notre Dame in terms of quality. We're anticipating kids from everywhere from Florida all the way to California, from coast to coast, and all across multiple classes. I think there's a really good chance you see the number one player in the class of 2027 in the country. It's early to call any kid that, but the early number one in the class of 2027 in the United States, I think, is coming to the game. And so it's going to look like that across multiple classes. Obviously, a huge contingent of the commits will be in town. Chase Sims and Kelshawn Johnson both visited Texas last week. They're coming back to A&M. It's important that you get them back on campus after visiting Texas. It's going to be not only a visitor list that is going to be eye-catching in terms of the talent, but it's also going to be eye-catching for folks that follow recruiting in terms of how important it is to get some of these guys on campus.
I know we've talked about a couple of D linemen, but Toby Hastrup, am I saying that right?
Yeah, Toby Hastrup, Katie Maid Creek, went and talked to him. Saw him play last week, then talked to him afterward. And he announced yesterday that he is going to make his decision on signing day. We had heard there was a lot of A&M momentum. He could be getting close to just shutting it down in favor of A&M. Now it sounds like he is going to take all of his visits. I think his next one is to Missouri. Or maybe USC. I can't remember. He ran them all down. If you're a premium subscriber, go listen to that interview if you're really interested in his visit schedule. He ran them all down for me. And then he's going to make a decision on signing day. But yeah, I think A&M is positioned themselves well for that one. Between he and Javion Hilson, if they land one of those two, then you're talking about premier talents as pass rushers in this class to go with a guy like Marco Jones, who's already committed. And we're seeing the importance of that position right now on Texas A&M's defense. How well has Shamar Stewart played? He's been great.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Shamar's emergence and arrow pointing up, all that kind of stuff, has a lot to do with obviously his growth and his maturity, but Nick Scorton playing on the other side. I think Nick has been a great example for Shamar. But even more so than that, I mean, look at Cassius Howell and Rylan Kennedy.
Heck yeah.
And how well they're playing. And you look at Toby Hastrup and compare him to skill set wise to Cassius Howell and Rylan Kennedy, and you see a lot of similarities.
Yep. Let's hit a break here. If you got a question for Bronny, again, 979-693-1150. We'll read that on the Little Sluggers text line. We can even potentially take a call there on the Boss Firearms hotline, 979-693.
It's going to force me to put headphones in.
Yeah.
Unless Caitlin just wants to relay the message.
She can do that as well. Okay. Right now, we're talking about career opportunities through the Association of Former Students. If you're looking for a reason to move back to Aggie land, or maybe you're already here and you're looking for just a different opportunity, but you want to help out your awesome university, and you should reach out to the Association of Former Students. They always have openings, and some of the past ones I've seen, fundraising, marketing. There's a lot of different areas that you can go help and be a part of what they are doing. They are the premier alumni association, and they play a part in every Aggie story from Howdy to here. They have great events throughout the year. The association has the Howdy Socials, the Aggie Reading Day, the class reunions, obviously, and Aggie Muster. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and, of course, selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. So if you're interested in joining a team or sharing with someone who would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/associationjobs to apply and get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. That's true?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I should have known that. It's Recruiting Country, brought to you by Caprock Health System. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Little Sluggers text line's been popping. Caitlin.
We have had 2 questions on the text and 1 on the YouTube asking about what's your feel on the Lamont Rogers recruitment.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like no different than what we've talked about with Lamont. Really, since he committed to Missouri, I think that A&M has been a real threat this whole time. It would not surprise us if he shows up back in town this weekend. He was here for the A&M Mizzou game. So, you know, in 11 o'clock kickoff, if a kid makes it in from Dallas, that's not exactly, you know, you're probably waking up at 6:30 and getting on the road to get down here. So, yeah, I don't feel like there's any difference in terms of how we're looking at the Lamont recruitment. I think the Aggies have positioned themselves well that if he is not going to go to Missouri, I think he will go to Texas A&M.
It'll be a big one. Caitlin?
Bosis from Katie says, hi, Ryan. Does the momentum help to get the likes of McNutt, wide receivers we lost out on, and the O-line Fasusi to get back to us?
You know, Fasusi is going to be a really big target for a lot of schools because he's committed to Oklahoma, and you kind of look at how their season's gone and what it could look like going forward. You know, they just fired their offensive coordinator. That's usually a sign that things aren't going well. I don't think that Brent Venables fired Seth Luttrell because he wanted to. I think he was probably given direction to, hey, this can't go on any longer. You need to make a move here. So you always wonder about how that affects, you know, I don't know how much involvement Seth Luttrell had in recruiting in recruiting Michael Fasusi. Bill Bedenbaugh, their offensive line coach, is a very well-respected O-line coach and recruiter. I would imagine he was doing the yeoman's work in terms of the Sooners' pursuit of Fasusi. So I don't know that it matters at all. But Fasusi is probably going to be pulled at a lot now with the turmoil going on in Norman. Wide receiver, you're not going to get a different answer. You keep asking about why everybody keeps asking about wide receiver every week. Yeah, I think they would listen to any of those big targets in the state if they wanted to come on a visit between now and signing day. You know, I'm talking about Manny Choice, Khalik Lockett, those upper echelon guys in the state of Texas. Obviously, they haven't had any involvement with DK Moore, hardly ever. So I don't see them getting involved there. But if any of them picked up the phone and said, hey, I'd like to come visit Texas A&M, I think obviously the coaching staff would set that up. But if it doesn't happen that way, you know, if they don't get a nibble or a bite on anything in the high school ranks on their top upper echelon guys, I think we're going to see them go heavy in the portal.
Right.
And, you know, I would imagine if that is the practice that they are anticipating pursuing between now and you know, next season, then there must be some guys that are going to be going in there. Like, you wouldn't just mortgage that position. And plus, you don't know what you're going to have next year in terms of the current roster.
Right.
You know, what happens, like, I think the only ones that are out of eligibility are Jade and Moose. So what happens if all those other guys come back? Then you're looking at a receiver room that's pretty good and pretty experienced, and you don't need a whole lot of pieces.
Right.
So keeping Kelshawn Johnson in the fold in the high school ranks, keeping TK Norman, and then kind of seeing what the portal looks like.
Might be their format.
I think that's their format going forward. And safety, I mentioned Trey McNutt. I haven't asked about Trey. He's got some ties to like Helam and Kasuga. They're all kind of involved with some fast Houston 7-on-7. They've all kind of got some connections to that, so maybe. But I haven't heard anything on Trey McNutt. And again, safety, what does it look like next year?
Sure.
You know, Marcus Ratcliffe comes back. Bryce Anderson probably comes back. I think the only one that's out of eligibility is Trey Jones. Dalton Brooks comes back. So, you know, how much do you really – and look, here's a play that's gone really under the radar from last week. You know who made the tackle on that fake punt?
Remind me.
Miles Davis.
Was it Miles? Oh, yes, that's right. That's right, yeah.
Like, there's a young safety kind of in the pipeline that's getting on the field, made a huge play in that game.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think they feel pretty good. One thing, I was just talking to Coach Kortan about this in the lobby, like how important it is now that you develop your underclassmen, and if they see themselves getting better and getting more opportunity, it keeps them engaged and more likely to stay. And if Miles Davis is like practicing and developing, he sees himself getting better, and then he's getting on the field for special teams and he's making an impact, like that kid's got a real chance to be a down-to-down player in the future. He's obviously was a highly recruited kid out of high school at a very well-respected program. In Converse Judson, who knows what that looks like?
Right.
So I think a lot of the decisions the coaching staff will make, you just never know going into an offseason. You could feel really good about a kid and he has some reason that he wants to leave. That's something that you got to keep in the back of your mind. But you also, you just, if you feel really good about a position, is it worth going out and picking up a portal guy that you know less about? Is it the devil you know, the devil you don't? That's always a decision that you have to make in life, right? But the way they're developing some of these younger kids, if they're really pleased with the way that
they don't need to,
Ashton Funk and Blake Ivy and Robbie Bourdon are on the offensive line, then do you really need to go look for offensive linemen in the portal? I feel really good about where these underclassmen are going. So it's all part of roster management now. That was not a piece of the puzzle 5 years ago.
Caitlin, any others?
Yes, Damian Hernandez on the YouTube chat asks, how is Michael Terry looking?
Yeah, I don't anticipate A&M involved. They haven't been involved with Michael Terry in a while. I suspect he's going to go, well, I think his finalists are Texas, Nebraska, and Oregon. So I think one of those will be the pick.
Ronnie, just let's close up with this. This weekend, obviously, should be a great guest list. The product in the field has been all arrows pointing up. Just could this be a huge weekend for them regardless?
Yeah, I think it could be. I always hesitate, these people on the message board, and I've seen some this morning. This is a massive game in the Mike Elko tenure. Really? Is it really? I mean, if they win, yeah, it could be massive for this season. But winning or losing on Saturday guarantees you nothing going forward. It is not an indicator that Mike Elko is going to be a national championship winning head coach here. It's also not an indicator that he's going to be a failure here. You know what I'm saying? So, you can be a little bit heavy-handed because of the emotion of the moment.
We can overrate the moment. I do think winning this game sets you on a certain course.
For this season, no question. Season,
yes.
But it is not an indicator of the Mike Elko coaching tenure.
No.
Good or bad.
Just like Notre Dame wasn't.
Right, exactly.
Just like Missouri can't be either.
Right. Everybody, you get emotional in the moment and you want to make these overarching definitive statements about something that you have no clue about. A&M could just as easily, if they lose to LSU at home and they go on the road to South Carolina and win, it's still like you're on the prospects of going, man, if you
can still make the playoffs.
Still make the playoffs. You beat Texas, you can still go to the SEC championship game. So again, everybody wants to make these hard-hitting analysis, and the louder I scream about it, and if I'm more negative about it, I'm going to be right because I'm more offended or I'm taking it more personal than you. It can't work like that. It doesn't work like that in the coaching and sports world. It doesn't work like that across the street. I've a supreme confidence in Mike Elko's preparedness, his mental capability to do this job, his physical capability to do this job. And so regardless of the result on Saturday night, I still believe Mike Elko can win a lot of football games here.
Yeah, I do too. And not only, but I will say this next 2-game stretch does not define the season. This next 2-game stretch, I think, puts you on that path.
Yeah, you can talk about these games making massive impacts on the season. You can't talk about it making massive impacts on the tenure.
Correct. Bronny, thank you, sir. All right, next time we see Bronny, he'll be at Gardening 101 there in Milliken Reserve. I'm kidding. I don't know if he's
Friday morning with Coach Early.
9 a.m. to 11 a.m. October the 29th. But he will be with us. I was kidding about Gardening 101. You will be with us with Coach Early. Looking forward to that.
I'm going to start doing it like Billy did the other day. Just holding it.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, I'm sure Josh hates it.
Yeah.
So don't cut to me, Cade.
And an email in 3, 2, 1. No, I'm kidding. Sunrise Coffee at Milliken Reserve coming up on the 31st Halloween. Volunteer at the Farm, November the 1st. Again, volunteer at the Farm on November the 2nd. Great events there at Milliken Reserve, a farm-to-table community in College Station. Homes, trails, farms, wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. You go there, hiking, biking, canoeing, kayaking, equestrian trails, evening yoga, the summer camps, the music festivals. You know all that great stuff that happens when you go to Milliken Reserve, and incredible neighborhoods too, the creek, the hollow, the meadows. Learn more, millikenreserve.com. That is millikenreserve.com. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Coach Weddell, Alan Weddell in studio. Coach, how are you, sir?
Very good, sir. Good to see you.
So, were your ears burning this week?
Why is that?
Your name came up.
Uh-oh, no.
It was good.
Oh, well, that's good then.
It was good. So,
good.
It was a slap.
At my age, it's always good to be talked about.
Well,
okay.
On our message boards, literally, I don't know if it was Thursday or Friday, but somebody said, hey, Nuño, where the heck is Coach Weddell? It's been since August. And here you are in studio, and it just worked out when I texted him. He was like, yeah, I'm in town. Let's do this. So, what do you think?
Hey, this is nice. This is first class. This is like the Aggie football.
It's pretty nice, right?
This is Taj Mahal.
Trending in the right direction. So let's just talk about where things are. How are we feeling about Aggie football, considering the record, what they've gone through, the offense, the defense? Give me the coach's perspective.
I think we've seen improvement. I think the biggest improvement, from what I understand, is the culture in the locker room. I think that's been the big thing that's been missing the last few years. And the defensive-minded coach with the team aspect of it, no superstars. Nobody's worried about how many times they touch the ball. Nobody's worried about how many passes they complete. Nobody's worried about counting tackles because everybody plays a lot. And that's a defensive-minded football coach bringing that type of culture to the locker room. And that's been a big deal. These kids seem to like each other. In the day of the portal, that's kind of difficult sometimes because you can bring talent in and you can understand talent, but to understand how the culture is going to mix together is the toughest part. And that's why you see teams go the portal and fail, like maybe Auburn, and go the portal and be very successful. And I think the Aggies portal transfers have really contributed quite a bit.
Easier to show that to a team when you have success to back it up.
No doubt.
But the path to success as well, right? Like, Rome doesn't have to be built in a day, right? Like, but if you can show them, if you just follow this path and just do what we're teaching you, we'll get there.
That's what Nick Saban was so good at. It was the process.
Yes.
It wasn't the destination. Destination takes care of itself. It's the process of how you get there, and that's why he was so successful everywhere he was.
Mm-hmm. And I think, the greats follow that methodology, right? And when you continue to do that, and again, I think the Aggies, this football team, look, there's going to be some more hiccups this year. There's been hiccups, right? But don't let one bad mistake become two. Don't let two become three. Don't let one loss become another one.
They say about DBs have a short memory. Well, that's true for every position. You can't carry the next play to the next play, the last play to the next play. You got to be ready to play the next one, and that's the most important play, the next one.
I don't think we spoke after the Notre Dame game, but one of the things that I said was, I'm not going to allow this Notre Dame game to be who Connor Wigman is, right? And I think he's proven not to be that quarterback since he came back from injury. He didn't have his best game against Mississippi State, but how do you evaluate his play in the games you've seen him?
Well, no one's going to have their best game always, so it would be called the best game. So, I think you kind of look at he's a leader. That's the first thing. He has confidence. The kids have confidence in him.
Right.
And that's the most important thing. A pitcher doesn't go out and throw a no-hitter every game, So you have your good games, your bad games. So he lasted 5 innings is one of those things, and then the relievers came. But no, in this game, he was off a little bit. Could have been the routes. Could have been a lot of things. Could have been if we had a protection breakdown he was worried about. But he's a winner, and that's the key. And you look back to the Notre Dame game, that was a tight, good football game with a quarterback with a bum shoulder from the second quarter on. We always ask, why didn't we stretch the field? Well, it sounds like the answer is that our quarterback's shoulder was bothering him, and we couldn't stretch the field.
Well, and part of it, too, was, look, we don't know how the kids are going to react, right? Like, he's coming back from injury. He hadn't played in almost a year, playing against probably the best defensive line he played against all season long. Like, we can look for reasons, but the bottom line is, how does he respond to that?
Exactly. And you look at the Texas quarterback. He didn't have he was a Heisman candidate first year, and he had a bad start when he's come back from injuries also. So it takes a while to get the rust off, to get back into the speed of the game. And at that level, the speed of the game is so fast, it takes a while to get it back into to your mindset.
Yeah, and let's talk about this offensive line, too. For the last few years, we've talked about if that O-line could protect, this team could do something. This year's offensive line is protecting.
That has been the hidden gem of the football teams, the offensive line. They're very cohesive. They're well coached. They like each other. They play hard. They got a little mean streak to them. They love their quarterback and their running backs, and they'll do anything to protect them. And they've had some injuries in there, but they've overcome them. The kids have played when they're hurt. Not played when they're injured, but play when there's a hurt. And there's a big difference in that. And everybody, when you play when you're in pain, your teammate plays a little harder also.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And then you've got this incredible backfield, like Le'Veon Moss putting up huge numbers, Amari Daniels, E.J. Smith has had his moments.
Yeah.
What do you think about this backfield?
Oh, and Owens isn't playing. That's the whole deal. What ifs, type stuff. it's just a well-rounded football team. Where's your weakness? I'm not sure. People question the corners a little bit. They've been very good.
Will Lee's been phenomenal. They all have, yeah.
They've been very good.
Yeah.
They question the offensive line. That's been very good. We've got 2 or 3 tight ends. There was a question when Green wasn't coming back as fast as he wanted to. Of course, quarterback's 5-star, and we're ready for that. Linebackers have gotten better now. The defensive line, which is supposed to be the strength, is the strength type stuff. This is a very solid football team. Everybody looks at rankings and all that, and the Southeast Conference is a circular firing squad for the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, they just knocking each other off right and left. You could have a 3-loss conference loss Southeast Conference. Southeast Conference team that could easily have won 2 of the other 3 conferences. Major conferences.
Well, also, when you think about this year, and we told Texas and Oklahoma when they came in, this is a different animal.
Mm-hmm.
But I even think this year seems like a even more different animal because there is not that one dominant team, although Georgia showed they can be that team, right? As we expect them to typically be. But Bama with a couple of losses already. Texas gets embarrassed. You look around.
Missouri, which was supposed to Ole Miss.
You
look at those
Oklahoma's a disaster.
Oklahoma is an average football team in this conference. There's
South Carolina can beat anybody.
Anybody.
Kentucky has their highs and their super lows.
But if you catch them on a bad week for you and a good week for them, you're in trouble.
So when you watch,
and then there's Vandy.
And like Vandy's one Vandy's one like. I feel like I overrate them at times, and then also look at them like Vandy. Like, well, it's just Vandy. They're going to come back to the reality at some point. It's weird with them.
Again, the portal. Again, chemistry. Again, little things like that. They've got. I always said that if I had to do heart surgery, I want my doctor was a football player. I want him from Vandy.
Yeah. So what do you think about this matchup this weekend? Because LSU. Great offensive line, A&M, great defensive line. LSU's secondary, a little bit suspect. A&M hasn't really had the passing game clicking every game, but when they're clicking, they're clicking. This is an LSU team that seems to have figured things out, but I think you can say the exact same thing about A&M.
LSU's won close games, and that means a lot in this conference. They know how to win. They know how to. They've really improved since the first week, as we have too. I guess this is the contest between we'll decide the pretenders and the contenders, because the winner of this has got a great shot to win the conference, go to the conference championship game, and get in the playoffs. So it's an important win, and like you say, the strength versus strengths. I think the linebackers, Scooby's really had a good game their day. York is as solid as can be. If our defensive line can neutralize their offensive line, let our linebackers run, we're going to have a good football game on defense. And I really think that we will wear them down offensively. I think we can wear them down with our offensive line and our running backs and the play action passes. And I think Connor will use his legs this week. I think that's going to be the difference maker.
So you think that's the key?
I think the difference is 2 quarterbacks, and they're both very good, both Texas high school projects. And I think Connor's legs will make the difference.
What did you think of what happened in Austin the other night? Not just the game itself. You can get into the to the fans, but like just the game itself.
Georgia's very good.
Yeah.
Texas is very good. And it's kind of like, Texas got hit in the mouth first and took a while to react, just like Georgia did against Alabama. And when you're playing good teams and little things happen, little turnover field position was so important in that ball game. Quarterback was rusty for one team. Neither quarterback played great, though. But the Georgia defense looked like the Georgia defense of a couple of years ago. There's no doubt about that. Because Texas has one of the best offensive lines in the country. On Thanksgiving weekend, we're going to be talking about the A&M defensive line versus the Texas offensive line as the keys to the football game. So it was a great football game. My team didn't win as such, but a lot of the Aggies team won that Saturday night. So I enjoyed watching the game. Both teams were very competitive in the second half. And you hope not, but you could see them again in the first weekend of December. They're that good, and we'll see both of them, I think, in the playoffs.
How surprising is Alabama this year? It's not that surprising considering Nick Saban's not there anymore, but then they beat Georgia, and it makes you think, typical Bama.
Yeah. They're so close, and yet they're so far away. There's something missing. I have no idea what that is yet, but they had Georgia on the ropes, couldn't put them away. South Carolina, I believe it was tight as could be. Shouldn't have won that one. They lost to Vandy. Tennessee comes back and beats them. Some reason they're not able to finish and play as well late in this game, second half, as they have been in the first against good teams. But they're a very good football team.
So what's your hunch for this weekend when you think about this matchup, the Kyle Field the difference that Kyle Field will make?
I think, again, we will wear them down. I think we'll win it in the fourth quarter. I think it'll be a tighter ball game than I think it will be within a touchdown. But I think in the end that we'll wear them down, and the defensive line will put enough pressure on them because of our depth in the fourth quarter to keep pressure on the quarterback, and we'll get a big turnover late. I really think it's going to be a great football game. 12th man will make a difference because 12th man will be there all night long.
Does this brand of football, and I know there are different types of personalities, but this brand of football, the closest thing we've seen to an RC style of football team?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Both from the chemistry and from the defensive standpoint and from the team standpoint, everybody's going to do it the same way. This is why we do it, because we are Texas A&M.
Yeah.
They truly, as I say, play for the name that's on their chest. It means a lot to them.
Coach Weddell, great stuff as always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming
Good
in.
David.
See, message board, I got him. This is my guy. Anytime, he'll answer me at 3 o'clock. I don't do that to you, do I?
I have no sleep at 3, but that's right. No, you don't.
That's Coach Weddell. We'll come back. We'll do some stats with Ethan Jones. Right now, it is time to talk about Heritage Films. They make documentary films about businesses, about family ranches, family business. They just do it about your grandfather, your grandmother, your dad, whatever family story you want to tell, you can have it done. In fact, this weekend would be a cool time to have Chance McClain in town to do a Heritage film because he can capture the tailgate, right? Whatever you guys do for a big Aggie football game, he can be there, be an eye in the sky. Any type of holiday party you might have, Christmas, Thanksgiving, you name it, let Chance and his team tell that story, interview the folks at the party, and have a 2-hour documentary film done, just like Netflix, just like BBC, just like all A&E, you name it, all the big all the big documentary companies. That's what Chance does with his group, but he'll do it for normal people. The website is yourheritagefilm.com. yourheritagefilm.com. 713-893-8341. 713-893-8341. It's Heritage Films. It is TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. All the guests and callers that joined us on the program joined us on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Your local experts that buy used guns, ammo, and accessories. Go to bossfirearms.com to start earning money like a boss today. And by the way, I should have done this earlier, so I got to apologize to my good friends there at Brian Broadcasting, but it's time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We'll hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave, serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls, reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. Sorry, Brian Broadcasting. Ethan Jones got some stats for us. What do you got?
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about Mike Elko.
Coach Elko and his era.
The GOAT. Already the GOAT. No,
wow.
But he's had a really good start to his year. First year at A&M. But not only is it impressive, it's also historically good. So he's 6-1 through his first 7 games as A&M head coach. The last A&M head coach to win 6 out of the first 7 games was D.V. Graves in 1918. 1918. And the only coach before that to do better was Dana X. Bible. And he was a pretty good coach. I think he won a national championship. He started 8-0 in his first season. And then since the Aggies have played their first game at Caulfield in 1905, first-year coaches at A&M have averaged a 4-3 record through their first 7 games and only a 51.4 winning percentage in their first season. So if Elko wins one more game, his winning percentage is already going to be better than the average of A&M head coaches. And then recently, Jimbo Fisher and Kevin Sumlin, they did pretty good in their first year. Yeah. Both went 5-2 through the first 7 games, but still Elko's 6-1 record is better through the first 7 games. But even more impressive, I thought this was pretty cool. In the SEC, when you compare Elko to the other 15 coaches in their first years,
right.
He stands out as pretty unique. So he's 4-0 in conference play. Out of the other 15 coaches in the SEC, only 5 of them were able to reach at least 4 wins in their conference in their first season. That's Kirby Smart, Brian Kelly, Lane Kiffin, Josh Heupel, and Eli Drinkwitz. And most of them are doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Also, like I said, Elko is 6-1 in his first 7 games. The other 15 coaches were combined 51 and 54 in their first 7 games as SEC head coaches. And the 2 best were Brian Kelly and Kalen DeBoer with 5-2 through the first 7 games. So no other SEC coach reached 6 wins through the first 7 games. And then the other 15 SEC coaches in their first seasons were combined 11 and 47 against top 25 opponents. We're already 1-1, and both of them were top 10. And then also, these coaches had a combined winning percentage of 45.3 in their first year in the SEC. Only 4 coaches were able to achieve more than 6 wins. That's Shane Beamer with 7, Josh Heupel with 7, Kirby Smart with 8, and Brian Kelly with 10. So once again, if Mike Elko wins one more game, he's already in the top percentile of SEC coaches in their first year. And then finally, only one coach was able to finish in the AP poll in their first year, and that was Brian Kelly, who finished 16. Both Mike Elko and then Kalen DeBoer have a chance to do the same, who are ranked 14 and 15 right now.
Would be huge. Great stuff, Ethan. I know you're going to give us a little line of scrimmage battle there on the rewind.
I am.
Thank you very much. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Live here on a Wednesday. Tomorrow on the program, we'll have an LSU insider. We'll have Stephen McGee. We'll have Ryan Swope. We'll have you. We'll have a lot more. It's TexAgs Live. We'll see you mañana.